Hey, everyone. It's 372 pages. We'll never get back. This is the podcast where me, Michael J. Nelson, and Conor, who is with me also, we talk about these dumpster fires of books. Huh? You like that word? That phrase?
Did you coin that or something?
I just made it up. Wow. It's really fun.
I'm going to use that. There are things in my life, and I think just observations I could make about the world as a whole that might apply to.
Can't think of anything, but no, we're going through right now. We're going through Ready Player 2, which is this is written by Ernest Cline, who is Steven Spielberg's muse.
Yeah,
Spielberg loves him, wants to film everything that he writes, and so we assume that that's going to be true of this book as well.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's going to make a 2.5-hour epic out of his poem "Nerd Porn Auteur." You know, he's everything he's ever written. It's truly incredible. The calendar has turned. It's a new year. We're still talking Cline. It's like there's a new fallen snow. You know, I think that's how Calvin and Hobbes ended. A fresh canvas where everything is white and pure, and then a dog just came along and it's peed the letters RP2 into the snow in bright yellow.
Is it possible that I know there's a lot of talk about that we're in a simulation. We're just looping around now. There's no way for us to get on the outside and see that we're just simulations being forced to read Cline. So we're in a kind of hell where it's just going to loop and loop. And the years don't matter. We'll always be reading Cline.
Yeah, just like the 2003 movie Matrix Revolutions.
Yes.
Underrated.
Yeah. Have you rewatched it lately to learn about?
I'm planning on back-to-back rewatchings as they approach the release of Matrix 4, which comes to HBO Max, the Warner Brothers streaming service this summer.
I'm currently in the background is Sword Art. How is that?
Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online. Yeah, I couldn't think of that.
Your third reviewing of the day. You've stayed up all night eating Dunkaroos and watching Sword Art Online.
Yeah, my philosophy professor calls me every couple hours. Have you finished it yet? What are your thoughts? All right, so we have a full show today.
We do, yeah. We had a little bit of a break, so that got even more people chances to write things in and submit fanfic. So we're going to be going through fanfic or real. We're going to be going through people's emails. We've got just a ton of dumb sentences because this was quite a section of chapters to read. Chapters 10 through 16. I told you before this that this may contain, I think it's probably the worst chapter in the history of the podcast, but also,
wow.
Bob Honey with the sharding chimera, the time that Dwight David Thrash used the phrase certified public accountant 87 times in one chapter. This tops it all, I think, but it also maybe loops around to become my favorite chapter of the series.
Wow.
Up there with Grigner pulling the rat's guts out and making it into a sword, and Charles E. Harris getting a guy's wang cut off and threw on a fire.
Well, this is the equivalent of Conor, trying to pull off a man bun or something. We'll see how he sticks this. This is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Irony free? Or are you going to have to really?
We'll see how I can pull it off. It's I'm already regretting that claim. We'll see, but it's chapter 12, so we don't have too far to go.
I have a theory about it when we get there. Just remind me of my theory, and
okay.
It might explain what we've got going on here. But should we dive in?
Yeah. It starts with a bang. I think chapter 10 is they've been informed. Our heroes at this point have been informed that. Saying it out loud, it sounds like I am just, a 3-year-old telling a story. The avatar of the deceased creator of the Oasis has tricked everybody and locked them in their rigs. And if they don't find the shards in 12 hours, everyone's going to start dying. Millions of people worldwide.
Millions of people who are currently locked in. A lot of them are locked in their impenetrable spider coffins.
Yes.
Which some of which at least reside at the bottom of an elevator run by, what is it? B.B.
King.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There is at least one person out there, and that person is the CEO of the Oasis, Wade, our hero, who, you just start to question his heroicness, his wisdom, his intelligence during all this. And I questioned at least the role of the editor. Once again, we turn our eyes to the editor, the often deemed mythological, fictional, cryptozoological. I'm not sure which one, but
that's essentially. Look, I'll just get it out in the open. I think that's where this is my theory involves the editor, is that so they went to Cline and they said, we want another one, and he said, what should it be about? And they did the I wish I could do the shrug that you see, like the
the shrug emoticon.
Please. Yeah. So, it's a contest, classic 80s. Get to it.
Yeah, start spinning the wheel of references.
See you in 3 weeks. So he immediately writes himself in a corner with the having to solve it by having impenetrable spider coffins. So he's got through that, and he's patting himself on the back. I really solved that problem that I immediately wrote myself into, right, with the invention of the ONI. And then he got stuck. Mm-hmm. And so he called the editor, and they just said, classic 80s. What did you like? And he's like, well, I liked John Hughes films. Yeah, okay. And then 17 chapters of John Hughes were turned in, and right, son of a, and the hand lingered on the phone, and then they just went, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
They signaled for another Mai Tai on their beach chair type of thing.
Yes. So that's what it is. It's none of this matters, obviously. So that's why it's here.
Right. And that is reflected in the first sentence of chapter 10, which, my parents had a long drive over the weekend. I think they said they listened to the first Ready Player 2 chapter. My mom was like, is it really that bad? And I'm like, I hate to... The idea that we would be nitpicking is my fear here, and people will point to things that we've nitpicked, and of course we do. But then you have sentences like this, which is just how is this possible? How is this possible? Okay, I'm just going to read it. As the panic subsided, so just put a pin in that. As the panic subsided, H. Shoto and Faisal began feverishly tapping at the icons on their HUD menus, sending texts, or making panicked phone calls to their loved ones.
I don't know.
Can an adult intervene?
Again, the editor showed it. Someone walked in their office and they turned their computer around and went, read this first sentence. And the person went, oh, God. What? Yeah. And then they just went, doesn't matter. Never mind. Go. What were you saying?
Yeah, they're like, we've got, I don't know, I'm editing Ta-Nehisi Coates' book. I've got something important to work on. You just please stop showing me this garbage.
Yeah. I broke the golden rule. I read to Bridget yesterday.
Nice.
But she was doing something. She was preparing to leave, and I said, don't stop doing anything. Don't even listen to this, but I'm going to read it out loud. And she's putting garbage bags in or whatever, and then she just goes, oh, God, really?
Yeah.
Is it that bad? So the exact same reaction.
Good. But yeah, then he starts freaking out and hitting himself in the face.
This is the CEO of what is soon to be, if all goes well, if the corporate 5-year plan goes well, the only company in the world. Mm-hmm. This is the CEO.
Right.
Hitting himself on the head. He's hitting himself with his own fist, smacking his face.
Right. He says that it's like a panic attack, but then he turns to see Artemis standing there, restraining his arms in her vice-like grip. And she says, I need you to breathe, Wade. She gave me a comforting smile and squeezed both of my hands. So does that crush the bones in his hands with her vice-like grip? It was an odd thing to impose on her.
Yes, and to be clear, she's doing this physically because she's a tick. She has a haptic suit.
Right. Yes.
But he's feeling it in his spider coffin. At the bottom of the elevator run by B.B. King. I just want to keep driving home because in case you think that it's too ridiculous, I want to just keep grounding us with that stuff that we all recognize and know.
Yeah, and she's in her private jet too, just to make sure.
Yes, she's in her private.
That does come into play very soon. So, but then he says, all good in the neighborhood, Z? And he says, yeah, thank you. Turning away sharply in embarrassment. It was just, I think I may have had a panic attack. And so those are a good thing to have kick in as the panic subsides. Unforced error, man. You didn't have to make it the first sentence of the chapter.
He only has so many words, okay?
True.
There's only so many things you can say. But right away, then we get, this is a new one, a Lobo logout.
Uh-huh.
I'll define it here. A Lobo logout was the slang term for what happened when someone's ONI headset malfunctioned or lost power before their Oasis logout sequence could be completed, and their brain was properly awakened from the dreamlike state. 9 times out of 10, a Lobo logout left the wearer in a permanent coma. So this is his equipment that he's selling to people, and there's enough instances of these Lobo logouts that there's 9 out of 10.
Right.
So this has happened a lot.
So yeah, imagine the vaccines they're rolling out, where I believe the success rate was 90 to 95%, and you read that and you're like, that sounds like that's close enough to 100% for me. That seems worthwhile. Like, I'm in. Let's take it, society. This is the opposite of that.
Yes.
Meaning, like, it's like, well, that's close enough to 100%. That sounds like a terrible thing to allow the public to interact with.
And it malfunctioned or lost power?
Right.
I mean, the world is on the brink of collapse, we are told.
Yeah, power and lag are two of the biggest issues with these roving bands of people. So it seems like a decent chance.
This is another unforced error, though. We were already told that if they stayed too long in their suit, they just basically went into a coma, right?
Yeah.
Why is he adding another thing? It's just so stupid. We already had the reason to be panicked about, if
True.
you cared.
Yes, right.
About the fact that they couldn't get out of their spider coffins. And now there's this, too.
But at least he ties it in with this relevant reference to the world of 2044. Thanks to license, we weren't held legally accountable for any of these Lobo logout incidents. Although thanks to our licensing agreement, our users click pass before each login. If our ONI headsets suddenly started making people's heads explode like watermelons at a Gallagher concert, we probably wouldn't be liable for that either.
Wow, we're not in Kansas anymore, are we? In 2044, Gallagher lives on. That is really good to know.
It is, yeah. I mean, so that implies that that Gallagher too is still out there touring under his brother's name and image.
That's right. I would just like to throw it out to any lawyers listening, and I don't know if there's any in this particular area of law, but I don't think that clicking on an end user license agreement allows you to then kill people knowingly.
Right.
Just because they clicked through and used your software and their head exploded. I still think you're hanging out there a little bit legally, don't you?
Right. Do you remember when it was, 10 years ago and Kindles were relatively new, but then so there was some licensing issue with the book 1984, and they took them off of some people's Kindles.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And it was right around the same time that U2 put their new album on everyone's iPods.
Right.
And it was just, the uproar from, the hated EFF of Digital Fortress was just, for just stupid shit like that was insane. So if it was our EULA lets you, head explode like a Gallagher watermelon, people might have raised objections.
Right. Well, now that the panic has subsided, it's good to see that Faisal grabbed a fistful of his own hair in each hand as if preparing to yank all of it out. So 1920s silent comedian.
Yeah.
Then a half of a house fell off and it collapsed on him, but he was through the window, so he didn't get hurt.
Or I was thinking one of those like grotesque close-ups of Ren Hoek.
Oh, yes.
He's got big veins in his eyes.
Yes. There's like yellow stuff in the corner of his eye and like hair sticking out at angles.
Panic.
Subsided.
Yes. But they sort of just like talk through. They try to give each other's pep talks. They remind each other that they're the high five, and they all have each other's backs type of deal. And where I think you just have to keep reminding yourself that hundreds of millions of people are on the verge of dying in a matter of hours, just as all of this, as everything that is about to happen has happened.
Yes, everything that's happened. I kept having that note, like, good time for this.
But so that the first sort of time I took, and including them, they're all logged into these machines and are going to die too. But
yes.
Artemis says, "Why am I thinking of that scene in Heat?" Artemis asked us. The one where Pacino is starting to close in on De Niro and he tells his crew, assume they got our phones, assume they got our houses, assume they got us. Right here, right now, as we sit, everything, assume it all. So yet again, we have people quoting a very unsuccinct quote verbatim, just like their favorite Bill Murray quote, I believe, from the last episode. They had, all the clauses, all the M dashes in this quote. It wasn't like it was something like dogs and cats living together, that type of, memorable one that rolls off the tongue. But I also wonder, was she using a Pacino voice here?
Oh, that's good. I didn't read it as such, but that would be good.
Right. So it just, whatever Artemis's impression of Pacino, you have to assume it's just the bottom of the barrel, open mic comedian impression of Pacino. None of these people are actors or stand-ups themselves.
Right. He does start dropping the references come fast and furious. And I've given up looking things up.
Okay.
Maybe occasionally I will, but Dixie Flatline, he calls Anorak. We got to do something about this Dixie Flatline or something. Any idea?
Nope. Glossed over it, and it appears if you Google it, the William Gibson wiki shows up.
Go to hell.
Neuromancer.
And then in the middle of another bit of dialogue, again, as they're all about to, heads exploding like Gallagher watermelons. Like Raslin said, tick-tock. Did not look it up. Don't know who it is. They're not in the book. It's not something that's an outside reference. Have no idea what it is.
Yeah. It's
very irritating.
Not worth our time. And neither is this worth our time. This is just truly stunning. I found myself wondering if Findoro's Tablet of Finding would be able to help us locate Anorak. Then I remembered that artifact only gave you the ability to locate other avatars. It didn't work on NPCs. This is him remembering this. And the admin said the system classified Anorak as an NPC. And there were no artifacts that gave you the ability to locate an NPC because it would break every single Oasis quest that involved tracking one down. Probably at least half of them. So, just a great paragraph that really moved things along at sort of a dramatic moment of the book. He wonders something and then remembers that, of course, whatever he was wondering would not be possible.
Oh, my God. Faisal then hands out, he says, these are bracelets of detection linked to the robes of Anorak. They will begin to glow bright red if the robes come within a 100-meter radius of your current location. And I just wrote, we're really doing this? We're really going on with the bracelets of detection. Right. People are about to die.
Right. It's I guess you just they maintained that stupid D&D aspect instead of being like the alarm that we will echo in your HUD will be ear splitting. It will be, if the villain is approaching you, we don't need to make it a cute little thing that resembles something from Kroll.
Yes. And again, he explains what's going on with the suits. In the middle of everything, he says, everyone fell silent for a moment. Artemis began to pace back and forth while chewing absentmindedly on one of her thumbnails. Samantha was probably doing the exact same thing in the cabin of her auto jet. Why are we still explaining this?
It boggles the mind. It might just be to remind you that she's actually wearing the tick, which any person who's reading this, we're reading this, 2 weeks between each session, and we're able to remember that. So I think if you were a normal person, drooling as you read this before bed or whatever, you'd probably be able to keep track of that.
Right. The editor scanned it and hit it to upload or whatever they do. they didn't. Okay, good, done.
On that same note of sort of just trying to keep track of what he's told us, what he's reinforced, this one I thought was interesting. I think this is Faisal. Mr. Watts, if you or anyone else ever presses that button, it would disrupt global communications, law enforcement, transportation, and commerce. The world would be thrown into complete chaos. The entire drone protection force would go offline and remain offline. There would be shipping delays, food and medicine shortages, rioting, markets would crash, states would fail. Where do things stand now? Right? Roving bands and hordes. You have free zones and stuff. Like he referred to where Lohengrin lived as the sprawling vertical slum near the apocalyptic epicenter of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Like, It's does it go, if it's at 0, does it go to -1 like it's a reverse Spinal Tap?
I guess so.
The markets would crash even further. There would be even more riots. Medicine shortages would be even worse than they are.
The roving bands would tick up slightly. We really like to see them trend down this year, but
right, their roving might increase by 5% in Q3.
Here's those moments of laptop throwing come quick and heavy. But I'll just point this one out. She tapped a series of icons on her HUD, then placed her hands on her hips. A pose that made her look like Wonder Woman for a brief moment. You son of a bitch.
Right, yeah. Just the most worthless writing and comparisons. Like, I suppose that's a moment of brief horniness as the millions of people approach their death.
I guess that's what it's meant to do, but is hands on hips?
Really? Is it that notable?
It belongs to Wonder Woman and only Wonder. I don't know what's going on.
Right. She's not standing. It made her look like the woman standing akimbo in the movie A Talking Cat.
I was just about to say.
That would be nice.
I think she owns.
Yes.
She owns the pose. And speaking of horny,
right. But yeah, it then launches into an action sequence, which I don't have a ton of notes on.
I don't have any other than calling it stupid as shit.
Okay, so. Good. Well, where does it start for you? It just she essentially says she does some badass Wonder Woman type of thing, and then parachutes out of her plane. The one note that I did have there was it says Faisal and Shoto burst into applause. I joined in, trying to ignore my fear. So they're doing the standard movie control room thing, but again, hundreds of people hours from death.
And when you do it in your coffin, do you, even though you're not actually doing it, is there some sort of like, do your arms move just a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, you still can't help but have a little bit of physical reaction.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you're just your arms are at your side, but you're just moving the top of your fingers, and that's enough.
Right. You kind of get a little, like, your coffin slightly trembles as you kind of move in that way that you would. Anyway, that's a question for the author when we get him on this podcast.
Right. But then as she's parachuting, this is clearly meant to be he's hopeful this will be something that, McG or whoever they get after Spielberg turns this down, will direct in the movie. She's like, sort of, wingsuiting around but then the jet starts honing in on her. Like the jet is taken over by the ghost in the machine that is Anorak, and it starts like soaring at her. And so she's trying to avoid it somehow, but, she lands on the ground, but then the jet changes course and crashes in right near where she was. And It says the just refueled jet had detonated like a fuel air bomb. The immediate area surrounding its crash site had been razed to nothing by the awesome force of the initial explosion. If Samantha or anyone else had been within that radius, they would have been incinerated. And I think he then later calls it a botched napalm strike.
Yes, but he did say it was an abandoned playground or something.
Yeah, I forget.
Or picnic site? Oh, a deserted picnic area.
Right. So he's probably going for a Terminator 2 kind of comparison there.
But put a pin in that.
Okay.
Put a pin in deserted picnic area.
Sure.
That comes up later.
Yeah.
But but I thought missed opportunity for Anorak for his voice to be, coming through. Well, it can come right through anything, right? So for him to be taunting while he's aiming a plane at her, didn't you think like, "Get off my plane"? He quoted from the classic 1980s 90s movie.
Right. Yeah, the opportunities for actual humor, would have been high.
Actual humor, yeah.
Sure.
Put a pin in that as well.
Okay.
There's some jokes coming up.
Oh, good. Some jokes. I love jokes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all I got. So she's incinerated. She's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously it ends with that dramatic thing of him looking at her, like wondering. All color drains out of his face, and he's confronted with the visage of the woman he loves, no doubt having been incinerated.
It's the Batman serial. The Phantom and Gabe have put a bomb in his car, and it went over a cliff and exploded.
How will Samantha escape? Yeah, tune in next time here for Chapter 11.
So there we are. We're at Chapter 11.
So they maintain, I will ruin it, but they maintain the fiction that she's, burnt alive for, I believe, 2.5 pages. Yeah, I took it down. 2.5 pages, 968 words. So yeah, it's not even like what those serials you referenced would be like, Batman was, inside a crate that was chained, put in the submarine, and then they blew the submarine up with a nuclear weapon. How will he escape? And then it cuts to the next episode. Well, he escaped. So you were a fool for thinking there was any tension whatsoever. But he does sort of stack some things up before that, which I thought was funny. He said, despite how Samantha Cook was often depicted in movies and cartoons, she wasn't a superhero. Here in the real world, she was just a regular person, a geeky Canadian gamer girl from the suburbs of Vancouver. And he's got to stop this. Mere chapters ago, she was described as Oprah, Joan Jett, and Mother Teresa all rolled into one. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot be just a regular person who is a gamer geek and then be, Princess Diana ending landmines and then jetting back to, a dinner with the president.
She put her hands on her hips, and for a moment, she looked like Mother Teresa. A little something for the guys out there.
Yeah. If you're an artist, Mother Teresa as Wonder Woman, we'd love to see it.
Picture this playing out. I'll take him at his word because he's the author and he's reporting and he's, I assume, a reliable narrator. My mind played a montage of every moment I'd ever spent with Samantha, both in the Oasis and in reality, while I tallied up the long list of stupid things I'd said and done to her in the years since our breakup.
Wow.
It did? Your mind played that out? Wow. I guess I've never talked to someone whose, life flashed before their eyes kind of things.
Right.
But I guess maybe this is a thing that can happen. Every moment he'd ever spent with Samantha.
Yeah.
In reality and in the Oasis. And while he was doing it was sort of like, Tom Cruise pulling out the stupid things he'd said and putting those on the side and tallying them up.
Shoto snapping his fingers as, this montage enters minute 47. Yeah. And let's be honest. Most of this montage was probably in Ogden's Riverdale replica. Yes. If we're really getting down to it, the many nights of making love.
Now, what is the Riverdale thing? I have not heard of this before.
Oh yeah, Ogden, the second in command, member of the High Five, recreated the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings.
The one from the book? Oh no, from the movie.
From the movies, yes.
Okay.
He rerouted streams and eliminated several species of bird life in order to create that.
Okay. All right. Well, if it comes up again, could you re-explain it? Because I'm still unclear.
Well, I have a thing right here. Anorak comes in and he gives a sort of villain speech that says, "You, your friends, your customers, all of you poisoned your own planet, destroyed its climate, defiled its ecosystem, and killed off all its biodiversity. And that was just Og destroying mountains and streams in order to build Rivendell. The rest of you are complicit, though, because you thought it was cool."
Do you have a voice for Anorak? Is that it? Is that your voice?
It's hard to get around that the terrible performance by that guy who was nominated for an Oscar from the movie, who's just like, well, your friends and your customers, all of you poisoned your own planet and destroyed its climate and defiled its ecosystem. Like that's what the guy talked like in the movie.
Yeah,
right?
Stoned hippie.
Yeah,
Slightly, obviously socially awkward, and but that was a pretty good imitation of him.
Thank you.
But now he's doing the villain thing, so I don't know if he changes his voice. But here's where it gets. This is again the guy who's destroying all of humanity. "That's the spirit," Anorak said, grinning. "You better get moving, Parzival." He tapped his imaginary watch again and sang, "Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future." So he sung it, by the way.
Yes, that's right. Just a Steve Miller song from the 70s, which references
classic
time.
80s.
Yes. It's been a book so far of people just singing music that goes along with whatever they're meant to do. It's incredibly annoying.
Very annoying. So he taunts them about her death, and then plot-wise, I think then she just reappears, right?
Yeah, he taunts them, and he says he snapped into when he called his kids, I finally snapped and went into a total berserker rage, lunging at the view screen as if I could crawl through and throttle him. You'll pay for this, you son of a bitch, I shouted, because I'd obviously seen way too many movies. I'm gonna call it that does not qualify for me as a total berserker rage. He just lunged at a view screen. He didn't shatter a coffee pot or upturn a table. Settle down.
And that's the moment here. I just found it in the book. That's the moment where he sings the Steve Miller song.
Yes, right. So that's how he calms him out of the berserker rage. Have we ever told the Steve Miller podcast story on the podcast? We must have.
I don't think so. But it involves, there's parts of it that are too hard to explain.
Okay. We'll do it.
Give him the big sketch, though.
We could, yeah, sure. I confidently wagered all the money in my wallet that Steve Miller of the Steve Miller Band was Australian, and that I was the sort of thing that a lot of people just don't know that, but it's one of those things. It's true.
And so producer Sean Thomason and I of Riff Tracks were sitting with him at a table, around IPAs or whatever, looking at each other, going, "What is this? What is this bit?" We're turning our head, doing double takes to each other, going, "I don't get it." I was like, "No, he's not. he's not at all." And Conor confidently again it says something like, "I think that's kind of the number one thing about him that people know." And we just started laughing, realizing he was serious, and then looked it up, immediately dispelled that. And then one of our coworkers came in, sat down, and we said, "David, where is Steve Miller from?" "Steve Miller?" He looks around, scratches his head, and goes, "I think he's from Milwaukee." And sure enough, he was.
It was it was.
There was no.
He threw a
there
dart
was
in
no.
the
Well, it could be Australian. No, it was
his Australian mother. It was just 100% absolute blue collar American town.
So Conor's thinking that Steve Miller, and confidently proclaiming, was from Australia is something that he's had to live with for, 7 years now?
Yeah, probably. Slipping into the future, mate.
That's not a knife. That's slipping into the future.
I brought it up myself. I own it.
All right. Yeah, that's true. It would have been unfair for me to do it.
Okay. But yeah, so then she's alive. It was a tense 2.5 pages, and she says, "I've got a few first and second degree burns, and I'm going to need a few stitches." So again, sure, why not?
Sure, the old, running away from fireballs cliche of 15 years ago. Running fat. Yeah, I think Schwarzenegger in Predator, right?
Right.
Nuclear bomb, run, and then you're okay.
Right. He gets a little bit of soot on his face.
Okay, so you put a pin in it. Mm-hmm. She says, "Now all I could think..." No, this is him, sorry. "Now all I could think about were all those charred human corpses I'd seen littering the park where her jet had made impact. The bodies of at least a dozen people."
Wow.
What happened here?
Maybe it was a flash mob that was meet at the abandoned picnic space.
But he proclaimed it. So he is an unreliable narrator.
I guess so. Maybe that's why Magna P.I. was wearing a Detroit Lions hat.
Okay.
But so, yeah, he's reminiscing about the charred human corpses he'd seen littering the park, at least a dozen people. But right before that, he said, Samantha says, "I got to go let the medics clean me up. There's also a few things I need to do, and I can't do them while Halliday 9000 is watching." Her deadpan 2001 joke caused me to involuntarily snort laugh. So this is he's already obsessively rewatched the crash footage and just keeps noticing new charred corpses, but saying Halliday 9000 as a joke causes him to laugh in the middle of all that. Minutes ago, he's seen these corpses, undoubtedly children, because it was a playground. Parents or caretakers.
Yeah, an absolute nightmare, a horror show beyond imagining. But he's snort laughing. This made me laugh. Not intentionally. I still didn't see a connection between Reiko Kodama and the second line of the clue, probably because I didn't have her entire credits memorized when I clearly should have.
Clearly. Come on.
Of all the things in this book that I just am like, what is he doing? What is he doing? He didn't memorize. He clearly should have memorized that.
Right, yes. It's like watching the Rays manager come and pull Blake Snell at 73 pitches in that last World Series game. What is going on? Like, I'm an idiot, and I know this. Reiko Kodama.
Right. Clearly.
But yeah, Reiko Kodama turns out is the key to the next clue, finding the shard. She is one of the co-creators of the Phantasy Star game series, and she'd worked on the very first Sonic the Hedgehog game, one of Kira's all-time favorite video games.
All-time favorite.
So making a mere favorite just seemed like garbage. But I guess Shoto knows all this. He shakes his head, closed his eyes, and raised his right fist to the sky in victory. "Princess Kurumi," he shouted, as the clock ticks ever closer to the millions of lives being snuffed out. And then it reveals that Shoto has always been our Sega scholar and our resident expert on pretty much any video game ever made in Japan, which is a lot of them. And in recent years, he became a well-known ninja nut. After the contest, when he'd abandoned his avatar's samurai attire out of respect for his late brother, he changed his avatar to a ninja and became a ninja addict. So Ninja Nut and Ninja Addict. He live-streamed himself playing ninja video games all day, every day for a month, and he aired ninja movies on his POV channel every night. Now, wasn't it specified that Shoto is a new father? Right? Didn't he take it upon himself to encourage... So he's just, she's in the other room being like, "Honey, can you change the diaper? I'm so tired." And he's just being like, "I am live streaming Wrath of the Black Manta, honey, please."
I think in my early marriage, there was one time where Bridget came out, my new wife came out, and it was like 2 a.m, and there was a guy sitting there, and we were playing video games. And I went, "Oh, yeah, right. This has to change."
The switch has flipped.
Yes. She just gave me the look, and that was it. I was like, "Okay, let's wrap this thing up and put it in a shelf." And
yes. But yeah, she's being like, "Oh my God, he was a ninja nut during the baby's first 3 months, but man, now he's a ninja addict, and as the baby is learning to sit up, this is terrible. Like, it's progressing. Now he's going to be a ninja connoisseur after all of this, and I can't imagine what that will involve."
"Don't look at Daddy. Don't look at him. He should see who I am, who I really am. I'm a ninja nut."
The baby, she shows him a picture of Daddy. "Who's this? Can you say Daddy?" "Ninja." He walks in, and the Cat's in the Cradle starts playing in his head.
"Oh, Daddy."
But he explains that because Sega thought that it would improve sales, they changed the main character in this game from a woman to a man. And H says, "I remember that shit now." In the console version, they also turned the princess into a damsel in distress that someone rescues at the end of the game. She shook her head. "That still pisses me off." "Seriously?" I said with genuine surprise. "They did that?" And I thought he needed to probably add, "Oh, sorry if that sounded weird. I'm still rocked to my core by the dozens of charred corpses of parents and children." That actually sounds like an extremely common thing for a corporation to have done with a minor video game in that era. Let's move on with the quest.
They actually did that.
Yeah, really? You think that the corporations were mainly trying to like sell video games to boys and teenage boys and men in that era? That's you're a scholar, man. This is all you've thought about.
Right. And again, all of this with the charred bodies are still, I assume some of them are incinerated, so they're at this point walking around with tweezers looking for rings and stuff like that.
Right. But other people are like still probably like, slipping in and out of comas. They're waking up and a crow is pecking at them even though they're not dead yet. I assume there's some sort of smell-o-vision where they can smell what an area smells like through a meat feed.
Oh, yeah.
They probably are. That's probably something they're never going to be able to unsmell and taste.
Right. But at the same time, the tape is around it, and the people are already stapling up pictures of loved ones and everything. Mm-hmm. But
cops
these
are
guys,
puking who can't handle it. Like,
yeah, exactly. somebody's, the old cop is dragging the young one by the collar over into a bush. And
You're not ready, rookie.
You get your shit together, man. But at the same time, oh, yo, I said, God damn, Shoto. H suddenly began to sing as she half hunched over and began to dance sideways towards them. Shoto moved toward her in the same fashion, and they launched into an elaborate five-part high five ritual. So, yeah.
Right.
So if you have both feeds in your, can you see them if you're in the? Can you put them in another window and then go look for your loved one's charred remains?
Right. Yeah, I think you must be able to compartmentalize at this point in time, having used these HUDs for so long.
5-part high five rituals going on,
and him describing the dancing when he isn't able to say just like they were doing 80s dances. He's not good at it. It's
he's not. It took me a while to even understand what he was getting towards.
It's not good in my opinion. It's
no,
it's But so as they are continuing to do this, he does say, as precious seconds continued to tick away, I began to wonder if I was going to have to swallow my rapidly dwindling pride and call Lohengrin. And so the idea that he's not, I believe she said, I have an idea about what to do here.
Right,
is just truly psychotic at this point in time.
And he's not going to be tight with those billions at this point, is he? Surely he can afford.
Yeah.
He can afford another billion to throw her way and just go, would you just give me the next clue?
Right. He seems to have enough money that even possibly the compound interest might have made him the billion back in the time that they've done this.
Right. But then he brings up Superman the movie.
Oh, I liked this.
What? It's not an old video game. I don't even get it. Why is he bringing that up?
So they've traveled to a video game planet where things just look pixelated, and they're running through Alex Kidd, Sonic, Phantasy Star, Ninja Princess, Championship Boxing, etc. But then he says there was something above it that looked just like that green Kryptonian crystal that called to young Kal-El in Superman the movie. And Superman the movie is italicized because obviously it's like the title of the movie, but it just seems so awkward to read that there when no one would ever say that as a person to each other. It's like, I guess, Star Trek, the motion picture.
Yes, or it's, there are several old titles that used to be a trend to include your name in the title. I guess sure. Like Push by Sapphire.
Yeah, right.
But it's Meredith Wilson's The Music Man.
Oh, wow.
Is the official title. So anytime it's mentioned, it has to be called that, which is very stupid and awkward.
Right, yes. Meredith Wilson's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Yes, exactly. So that's all I have because, the video game stuff, drilling down on that gets a little... I don't have a lot to say about it.
It's just running through just saying, imagine what this would look like in a movie. But then the one note I had, just sort of as we go forward, is like, Shoto changed out of his formal ninja attire and put on his ornate gold armor and then strapped on his swords. This prompted H and me to change into our old Gunter attire. Then H threw up a mirror so that the three of us could admire ourselves. And I added in my editorial note of, meanwhile, Artemis is receiving skin grafts on 40% of her body, as are countless other innocent people and children.
Oh, no 5-part high five in the mirror?
I think
admiring?
You don't want to do that unless you've hunched over and done your elaborate sideways dance. Otherwise, it's not giving it your all.
But while admiring, I assume arms folded back to back.
Yes,
sly look towards the camera, the camera POV.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're posing like an improv team for their poster, or the NFL on Sunday crew for the promo shots.
Right after they caught the football, they crossed their arms. Okay. Well, do you have any more for 11?
Nope.
Okay. Well, now we get to. Here we go. Connor's going to pull off a feat that. I don't know how you're going to do this, but this is chapter 12.
Chapter
Legendary.
12. It crosses over into just like a stunning work of avant-garde art, I think. It's unlike anything we've ever read before.
It's funny that I have very few notes for this chapter because of what it is. I too just sort of stood and admired it, just kind of held it up and went, wow, I guess this is happening.
Well,
so explain it.
Yeah. So well, a brief overview of what's going to happen. He's going to go to an arcade. He's going to play a video game, Sega Ninja Princess, and he is going to describe it level by level. And there are 16 levels, and that's what happens. He doesn't skip a single level. He goes through level by level and sort of describes what you would be seeing if you were playing this video game. And it's like a Looney Tunes joke or a Family Guy joke where the funny part of it is that it just keeps going well beyond where any reasonable person would stop it. I guess it's like, who's the comedian? Oh, I may have brought this up before. Dick Shawn, who was in like The Producers, the original. He was kind of an avant-garde comedian. He died on stage. Uh-huh. And people, when he first collapsed, laughed. Then there was silence. And then a little more laughter. And wow.
I don't know how long it went. The legend is that it was like 7 minutes later.
Wow.
Or so. But that's what this is like. Well, I guess he's going to keep doing this.
Yeah. This is slightly more tragic, I think. Wasted more of our time.
Yes.
But
right.
But no, yeah. So yeah, I'm of course joking. But like it just, the idea that I wrote down like enough, after he described level 7 and he just persisted with the whole thing because it's not interesting. It's a video game that no one's ever heard of. You can look up the video game and see it, and there's certainly nothing. The detail that he describes it in is completely unwarranted for what you're seeing on the screen. He's doing a lot of projection and making it seem more exciting and dramatic, of course, than it is. So,
yes, but there's a couple notes here about it. First of all, Happy Time Pizza. he describes it in great detail. This has already been done.
Loving detail.
Correct? We've had this in another book.
Yes.
In the first one.
That's where he went there and played all 255 levels of Pac-Man in the first book.
Okay. So this is just this is like a greatest hits playing. This is like doing Sweet Emotion as your closer or whatever. He's describing Happy Time Pizza again, which is, you will not be surprised to learn, is just a normal pizza place with a video game in it. But in case you were wondering whether we were going to get some horniness, he's Kira.
Yeah.
He becomes her, and we get this little... I also had Kira's boobs and her hips, lips, fingertips, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. A little something for daddy there.
God, yeah. The firmest of settle downs. No grossness intended there. Because, he does emphasize in her late teens as all of this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I didn't just look like her, I was her, which is well-covered ground. Like, we understand, like, that's how you spent your whole... You've already emphasized that you were a surfer who also had boobs in your first experience with the ONI.
Right. Yes. And by the way, Jesse's Girl is playing on the jukebox.
Yes,
and,
there's a 3-song loop of all very on the nose songs. You also have a 24 video games with about a dozen NPCs. They were all teenage boys in late 80s attire, which is. You would sort of expect that, it being the late 80s, but there's even just for a guy who loves talking about dumb shit from the 80s, you'd think it'd be a way to wedge in just like, members only jackets and, Run DMC's Adidas and, I don't know. It's not my gig.
Right. It's so bizarre that he can't be bothered to do that. He does that again and again when we get to John Hughes chapters. It's just amazing. Like, what are you doing? You love this crap. Why aren't you ladling it on? Instead, he's just doing that same, wearing 80s stuff.
Right.
Yes.
I like
saying wearing clothes. Yes, we know. It's clothes and it's the 80s.
Yeah. There's a particularly egregious example in the John Hughes thing that I can't wait to discuss. But we get this, which I think was maybe the first ever like keep rolling moment we have here, as he describes Happy Time Pizza. Happy Time Pizza was divided into 2 halves, the game room and the dining room. But actually, they were both game rooms because all the tables in the dining room were sit-down cocktail video game cabinets. Sir, you just said it was divided into 2 rooms. One was a game room and one was a dining room. And then the next sentence, you contradict that immediately. Do you want to go back and fix that? Keep rolling. No.
Yes.
Stat. Firm stat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Again, the editor is out. She's at lunch right now. There's no, cannot be bothered with this stuff.
She's just, begging someone else in a different publishing house. You got to get me off the Cline book. I mean, I will take anything. I will take, the Bobbsey Twins reboot at this point in time. Give me, is Matt Christopher's son like writing The Boy Who Only Hit Homers 2? Like I need something else. I'm going nuts.
Is that guy who did Shit My Dad Says, is he doing another book?
Yes.
I'll take that.
Let's reboot Life's Little Instruction Book from the early 90s. We can just sell those on counters at the remaining 2 borders in the country.
Okay, so now funerals are being arranged. Mm-hmm. Some of the bodies have been partially reconstructed, but in this... Here's a quote from him while he's playing. Wade, please tell me that you're not reading the instructions right now, Shoto said, sounding deeply amused. This is a good time for deep amusement.
Right, yes. Especially as you're, even if you're watching a friend play a video game under normal circumstances, it's usually one of the worst possible things you can do from an engagement and interest standpoint. So the fact that he's deep amused, considering the circumstances, really says a lot about this new father.
That's true.
We get this description of the arcade machine's attract mode. A brief but beautiful piece of 8-bit animation which showed Princess Kurumi being carried across a bamboo bridge on a palanquin by 2 masked ninja thugs. In the distance, beyond fields of red roses and forest of cherry blossom trees, over a broad blue river, you could see the purple-roofed Canton Castle. Blah, 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 blah. The instructions featured cartoon renderings of Kurumi, the gun-wielding big boss, Zaman, and his blonde-haired underling, Ninuki. And this is where I wrote, would you please stop describing a video game? And I just realized how naive I was.
Oh, yeah. It's, that Rift Tracks experience we had when you're writing a section and you exhaust it and you're 2 minutes into the section and it's all the same and you're going, my God, I have exhausted every possible take on this.
Someone wandering through a basement with a flashlight looking for something.
And you scroll ahead and it goes on for another 7 minutes.
No!
I know. I have to rethink my entire view of the world.
Right. It is like I believe we've said before, but you mistakenly express interest in a 6-year-old's like Digimon cards. And then for like the rest of the dinner party, they're being like, "Do you know what Squirtle evolves into?" And you're like, "I don't know. Why did I make this mistake? I don't care." But they keep wanting to tell you about it.
Well, you'll be interested to know that I was curious about this. Stopping a narrative to just describe something mundane in great detail. Yeah. I'm like, this can't have ever happened before. Maybe he invented this thing or something. I don't know. Like you say, maybe it's an innovation.
Yeah, performance.
But I looked back. I did some searching. It was just on the regular web. I didn't even because I found it right away. This is actually how you're familiar with Agatha Christie, the inventor of like the mystery novel.
Like what I believe, like at least before probably Dan Brown, the best-selling author of all time. Is that true?
That could be. Yes, that could be. She kind of invented the clue thing, of a house full of people and murders. And her most famous book is probably "And Then There Were None." Mm-hmm. 10 people on an island, and they're murdered one by one.
Heard of it, not read it.
Who's done it? I read it in 6th grade. It was my first thing where I went to a class in summer where they said we're going to read this book, and that was when I knew that I liked to read. But anyway,
Ernest Cline was probably at Return of the Jedi for the 8th consecutive screening.
Memorizing it. But I was able to find when she pitched this to the editor is actually available. It's online. It's in an archive. Mm-hmm. So I pulled it out, and she does this exact thing. You'll be surprised to learn. She
does the Cline technique?
Yeah.
Or I guess the Christie technique?
Yes, she stops in the middle. Well, let's just listen. This is the pitch from from Agatha Christie to her editor, and you'll see that she's selling this very idea.
Wow.
By Jove, Miss Christie, this novel of yours is cracking good. 10 people stranded on a remote island, 7 of them murdered, only 3 left, but none of them is the murderer. How can it be? Do go on.
Ah, how can it be indeed? Only Vera, Lombard, and Blore are left. They search the grounds, but Blore is suddenly killed by a statue falling from an upper story of the mansion.
What? But no one remains in the home.
Exactly, dear boy. So Lombard goes searching for a boat landing while Vera returns to the kitchen where she makes herself a sandwich.
Okay.
She gets the bread from the bread box.
And there's a snake in there.
What? No, there's bread in there. It's a bread box. She removes the bread. She slices it. She goes to the icebox. She removes some cold chicken. She slices it and retrieves some mustard from the cupboard.
But it's poison.
No, do shut up, boy. I told you, it was mustard.
Lombard comes in with a knife in his back.
Blast you! No! In this very, very long chapter I intend to write, Vera makes a chicken sandwich. Now, the bread slices were of the standard size, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick. You've had a sandwich, I imagine?
Yes.
Well, the sandwich this chapter is about to describe is like every sandwich you've ever seen, only a little less so in every way. Now, as to the cheese, it was standard English cheddar, sliced in the traditional way. And so the top piece of bread was then placed on the first of the 2 sandwiches.
For God's sake, where is Lombard? Is he dead? Who killed the other 8 people?
The top piece of bread was then placed on the...
Oh, no, please, no more sandwiches.
So there you
Wow,
go.
yeah.
See, it was
Stunning.
yeah.
That
I thought
editor
it was-
sounded exasperated by the end. He probably went out to lunch with Clines.
Yes, it was nice of the person who archived it though to not include the entire description of the sandwich being made. It
Sure.
was nice of them to edit that out for
Yeah,
our.
maybe it was Rosemary Woods or something that did the editing.
There's classic '80s reference there.
Wow. All right. Well, maybe that fits in with my. I don't know if it undercuts my theory that he's an auteur, or if it just puts him in good company here.
Yeah, you steal from the best, right? When you steal, yeah.
Well, here's what I want to do, because you read all this stuff and he's describing it with this language that is. Let me read you a passage.
Please.
And I became the vengeful Princess Karumi, clad in blood-red silk and armed with an infinite supply of throwing knives, intent on reclaiming my stolen kingdom at any cost. 4 blue-clad ninjas in black hoods appeared from the top of the screen and charged toward me. While I was dispatching them with my throwing knives, a 5th ninja clad in gray appeared, descending upon me much more quickly. So what I want to do is, that paints a vivid picture. I want to send you in real time the link to the video of the game that he's describing, and just have you give your reaction to it, just when you see what it actually looks like.
Okay.
I just sent you the link.
All right. I'm looking right now.
So
I'm
this is
looking live.
what warranted 7.5 pages.
Okay. I'm clicking. Okay. What was it? A blood red?
Blood red silk.
Okay.
Blue-clad ninjas in black hood charging towards him.
This is the game he's describing?
Yeah. It's it looks like, the adventures of Lolo or something. It's just
I thought this was clever, though, and I know nothing about this game, although, of course I know the one referenced here. Step 6 was set on a roaring river, which the player had to cross by leaping from log to log like in Frogger. So,
right.
So he got a little weak-legged about his reader's knowledge of the game that he was currently playing, and I better reference another one. I think I'm losing him here,
Right.
man.
Yes. Well, it's the way that he pretty much describes this is that, so he has to play it for some reason, because I guess he has the first shard. But Shoto is, of course, the ninja obsessive. And so Shoto is sort of narrating to him what is happening here. And the way that he does this is he keeps saying that Shoto referred to things. During the course of this, Shoto referred to step 3 as the avalanche level, Why? Because an avalanche is there.
But Shoto's like speaking to him, so why doesn't he just?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Shoto actually say it?
Actually narrate it? Because Shoto refers to things like there was a dense forest of bulbous 8-bit trees concealing wave after wave of what Shoto referred to as Keebler ninjas. So Shoto's like, he's not referring to them. He's being like, oh, those are the Keebler ninjas. He's identifying. It just pissed me off again once you started seeing it. And I like this exchange as well. It says, they actually have to strike you with their weapon. Ninja Princess was one of the first games to do that. It's a much better game than Commando, and it was released 3 months earlier. In fact, I would argue that Ninja Princess is probably the first true run-and-gun game, unless you count Frontline by Taito, H said, released in 82. Artemis is relearning to walk at this point in time. But then I have a little drop from you, because when I went looking at this game, I just watched some of the videos about it to see what he was describing. So we could just play what I sent to you.
We've all seen games like this in the past. Does Capcom's Commando come to mind? Well, I should think so. In fact, many people believe Commando to be the very first game in the run and gun genre. And just like everyone else, you would be wrong. Just like Doom wasn't the first ever first-person shooter, and Steamboat Willie was not the first ever cartoon, Commando was not the first run-and-gun game, as this little gem actually came out 2 months before that game.
So yeah, that video was from 2015, so I guess I'm not one to infer anything that Ernest Cline watched that video and took that, but maybe that's just a well-known thing that people are debating, that Commando was not the first run-and-gun thing, because this was released earlier. Who knows? You can sort it out in the comments, folks.
The timing is curious, you're saying?
I am. I just, I wouldn't I wouldn't put it past the guy who described the video game in level by level detail to watch a video of someone else playing the video game level by level.
Sure. What do you think Shoto refers to Step 8 as?
Oh, man.
If you know Shoto.
I do. He's a ninja nut. I would say... hopefully the last stage. We've been going through these for quite some time.
Well, let me describe it and see if you can get it. Shoto's sly sense of humor. This is an entire level trying not to get trampled by an endless string of horses stampeding across the screen. Mm-hmm. Shoto refers to that as the stampede stage.
Right.
There you go.
Shoto also referred to the oddly dressed enemies I encountered here as pastel ninjas, because many of them appeared to be wearing turquoise tunics and pink pantaloons.
Okay.
I had to battle several clown samurai who wore red-striped hammer pants that made them look like circus tents with swords. But now, did Shoto refer to them as clown samurai, or is that just examples of our hero's own cleverness here? I'm not sure.
The descriptions remind me of many years ago. We were at a party with relatives, and someone introduced a new baby. And she said, this baby is crabby. I mean, so crabby, always keeping us up. In fact, my husband refers to her as the crabby baby. And so Bridget and I say nothing, and then it's hours later we're driving home. And I'm like, so that guy's pretty clever, huh? And she immediately goes, the crabby baby.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we've kept that up for years. Whenever somebody says something similar,
that's like the funny guy at the accountant firm. He's got kind of a sick sense of humor. This one,
yeah.
He referred to the tax code as a little complex.
Oh, well, I have nothing more to say because it is just the description. So I'll leave it to you to close the notes out for Chapter 12.
Yeah, I liked this. This was after the Clown Samurai. He says, once I defeated them all, I cleared that level 2. 7 down, 9 to go. Almost halfway there.
Oh, my God.
And I want to read this just because it did remind me of someone... essentially something from like GameFAQs.com. I mean, all it is just a detailed description of the video game. But it reminded me of this guy who did this on a couple. I used to have to read these when I was trying to beat The Legend of Zelda or something. But this guy, C. Moriarty, at the beginning of his FAQs from probably 15 years ago. This is from one of the a Zelda Game Boy game I found. So this is an example of what's in this FAQ. According to the Hylian scrolls, the mythical gods descended from a distant nebula to the world and created order and life. The god of power dyed the mountain red with fire and created land. The god of wisdom created science and wizardry. The god of courage, through justice and vigor, created life, blah, blah, blah. Here's what was just a few paragraphs earlier in this FAQ. This FAQ, and all 30 other of my FAQ walkthroughs, are now dedicated to the over 3,000 innocent people killed in the World Trade Center and Pentagon terrorist attack in New York City, New York, and Washington, D.C. on September 11th. We will not stop working until we bring these criminals to justice. Your deaths were, all caps, not in vain.
Oh, no. Oh.
So that's what sprung to my mind.
Well, that is eerily similar to this, what's happening in this book. Wow.
Exactly. Charred corpses on an abandoned playground.
My goodness.
And then he says, I don't have too many more notes, so I'm just going to give them to you. Ninja Princess was a strangely non-violent game. There was no blood or gore in it at all, or killing. When Princess Kurumi got hit, she would just fall down and cry. The Puma Ninja clan members and bosses didn't collapse and die when they were dispatched. They all just vanished in a puff of smoke. When I asked Shoto about it, he told me it was a conscious choice by the game's creators to promote pacifism and non-violence. Why would you ask him about that? You've seen the graphics and stuff. You've seen how it looks like a pretty generic game.
Yeah.
Why would that raise any eyebrows or be something that you would, in your intense concentration during this intense run and gun battle, why would you stop to do that?
So it is implied he did it right. It's happening concurrently, right? It's not like he's looking back on it and then he asked him later. This is happening. He's asking him and then Shoto says this long paragraph.
Yeah, Shoto's been sort of hoping someone would ask him because he's memorized. It's like when I learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube, I would hope that any party I would go to would have a Rubik's Cube so I could solve it. Shoto's just hoping that he gets to weigh in on this.
A couple paragraphs above that, we get a shh, stop. He's trying to concentrate.
Okay.
So.
No, I'm good.
No, yeah. In fact, could you give me a couple paragraphs on something that wouldn't even come up? Yeah. So the chapter ends, unless you have any more notes, but we should point out.
Yeah. But let me do one more.
Okay.
He says, step 11 required me to fight my way down a lone stone walkway through the castle grounds. Step 12 was another wall scaling level, identical to step 10, but with the color scheme changed. When I reached the top of the second wall, I faced Niniku one final time, dispatching him for good. Boom! Shoto shouted triumphantly as I completed the level. You took out Niniku! You're almost to the castle! Shoto was right. I had not doubted Shoto. He seems quite familiar with the game, and if he says you're almost there, I would expect him to not be incorrect.
So now I have the book in front of me, and I'm scrolling down, and then at step 13 required me to. Step 14 required me to. Step 16 finally got to face off with, and then it just. That is literally what this, in case anyone doubted us, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it is just, piece by piece with Shoto occasionally referring to things to explain. And probably the best sentence in it is, I finally made it back into Canton Castle, my former home, now overrun with usurping pastel ninja dipshits. So I just invite anyone to take a look at the game and let me know if that would be the description you would arrive at to describe these people. And he says, it was a truly great game, and it was also kicking my ass.
Oh, man.
It took that playthrough that I didn't watch it, the whole thing, but to play the game front to back took 18 minutes for these guys. Felt much longer than that reading this. I would have thought it maybe took a couple of hours.
Yes. So he snapped a screenshot of his high score list.
Okay.
Which I didn't. Is that something you need to do in the Oasis?
Yeah.
So that I could examine it later?
Huh.
I didn't know you had to snap. Anyway, but then, so keep in mind, he's a 17-year-old Kira, and then he felt someone tap him on the shoulder, and he nearly jumped out of his skin. I turned to see a young Ogden Morrow smiling at me.
Oh, yeah.
There she is. He has her boobs, her fingers, her arms. He's got everything.
Yeah, that's where this chapter ends. Possibly.
So we leave it to our listeners did Conor make the sale? Did he convince you that Chapter 12
I don't know
is a work of high art?
I mean, I think it requires to read it and to see just step 9, step 10, step 12, with just terrible descriptions of a very mediocre video game that no one's ever played or heard of, to truly understand what he was going for. I don't think I did it justice. I'll admit that. We
got a couple letters about Raven Dementia. What was her name?
Yep, Ebony Raven Dementia Darkness Way.
About that book, we got some insane ravings of people going, "You idiots missed it! It's the greatest bit of satire in all of history," etc., etc. So I remained unconvinced. You are free to hold your own opinions on that. So we'll leave it to Conor. Just made his screed to the world, and you can decide for yourselves.
Sounds good.
When you read the chapter.
Speaking of screeds to the world, why don't we read some of our
my little pitch about the fan fiction, real or fan fiction?
Okay.
I think it's become a little more difficult now that we are both doing it. Because we are, not the whole project becomes complicated because we have both read ahead.
Both flipped ahead. Yep.
Yeah. And so
it did screw up a good one last time.
So that is, So, and there could be multiples and all of that. So anyway, it's just a little more complicated. Okay. But at the very least, we get to read people's fan fiction. So I'm just explaining that at the beginning, that things are not as pure. It's not a double-blind, peer-reviewed white paper at this point.
Yes, and this was a book that was, reviewed in, the New York Times and Slate and stuff. So we became aware of some stuff that was going to happen that would not happen if you were reading a Moon People or Shadow Moon. There would be no, that Prince shows up in the back half of the Certified Public Accountant book. Like, oh, wow, that was unexpected. Right. But yeah, so these are going to be, I'm going to read 5 passages that are either fanfic written by our listeners or they are later excerpts of Ready Player 2. Hopefully they won't be the same later excerpts that you found, if I read any at all, because they could all be real or they could all be fanfic or a combination of the two.
Very cagey of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are submitted by our Patreon supporters who are awesome people. They're way better people than Wade. Better than Shoto, I'd say even. They're over at Patreon. Yeah, I'm throwing out compliments. Yeah, I've still got the good holiday vibes carrying over into 2021. So, but yeah, they're at patreon.com/372 pages. We posted a very fun project over there, an audio book over.
That's right.
With people, all those people on Patreon wrote a book together along with us, and then we narrated it over the last month of the year and posted it for them. So. Pretty cool.
How has that been received? I have not been on the Patreon to see the reaction to it. People
seemed enthusiastic. I think they liked that we had to read whatever they had written, whether that was lunar sex or insane action scenes or just Ogden references and stuff like that. I think they were kind of tickled that whatever they had written, they now heard us stumbling through.
Yeah, very little editorial did I put into it. I think you said the same.
Yeah, I put editorial into it when there was like a sci-fi name that I attempted to read 6 consecutive times, and I deleted my bloopers, but I probably should have posted them.
Right. Okay. All right. Anyway. All right. Real or fanfic?
Real
Here
fanfic. I go. Number 1. Like all the tree houses, mine had a large hollow tree trunk at the center, containing a spiral staircase leading to the ground. I decorated the interior so that it resembled the treehouse where Chewbacca's family lived on Kashyyyk in the Star Wars Holiday Special. H noticed this a few seconds after we arrived and chuckled. Then she let out a long Wookiee growl of recognition. I didn't laugh. I was too busy teetering on the verge of an emotional breakdown as I took a long look around the room. There was a giant console television on one side of the room, positioned directly in front of an even more enormous blue couch. The TV was still running through a playlist of some of 11-year-old Wade's favorite shows. There was currently a green Muppet newscaster on the screen, and after a few seconds, I placed him as Gary Gnu, the host of The Gary Gnu Show. He had orange hair and an orange goatee, and he was in the midst of uttering a phrase I must have heard hundreds of times when I was growing up here. No Gnus is good Gnus with Gary Gnu.
Oh, that is fanfic.
Star Wars Holiday Special, too.
Star Wars Holiday Special, yeah. Yeah, I was tempted, but...
Number 2. We had bypassed Steph McKee's house the last time we were in Shermer, but now we stormed it, blowing past a bemused James Spader at the door. As we did, a needle drop of Until the End of the World by U2 began playing. "Oh shit," Artemis exclaimed. "We've set off a tripwire. He knows we're here." "How do you know?" I asked. There are no U2 songs in any John Hughes film," she explained. In the basement, Sorrento smiled at the distraught images of our avatars on a monitor. "Achtung, Ogden baby," he said. "We're about to have guests."
Wow. Well, I think that's fanfic because he doesn't, I don't think he ever cuts to any other action. He just describes exactly what's happening to him. So I'm going to say fanfic.
Okay. Stylistic. That's an interesting tip-off.
Yeah.
Okay, here's number 3. I looked down just in time to see Bruce, the shark from Jaws, tear another chunk out of our fishing boat with his massive teeth. The Oasis perfectly simulated the rubber animatronic look from the original film. I always thought, and so did most self-respecting gunters, that the cheapness made Bruce all the more frightening. "You're going to need a bigger boat," I heard H call from the mast. Despite the danger we were in, I couldn't help but smile hearing Chief Brody's famous line. I looked up at H and shouted, "Hand me down the shark-repellent bat spray." In the 1966 Batman movie, Batman had to fight off an equally fake-looking shark while dangling from the ladder of a helicopter hovering over the ocean. Halliday was more of a fan of the 1980s Batman the Animated Series, but he admitted in the Almanac to watching and having a soft spot for Adam West's version. I didn't know what Halliday had planned, but I was sure as Batman solving one of the Riddler's puzzles that it was the only logical solution.
That's another fanfic.
All right. Number 4. "This was a great idea, H," I said, absent-mindedly as the opening crawl to episode 1 began, the grand orchestral score ironically underscoring the most relaxing moment since the hunt for the shards began. Watching the Star Wars saga had been a semi-annual tradition for us since we first met in the Oasis all those years ago, but in between the stress of running the company, searching for the shards, and being trapped inside the Oasis by a psychopathic AI, I had completely forgotten that the time for our rewatch was already here. The version of the saga we were watching was different from the Disney cuts, as they had been called. When Halliday bought the rights to Star Wars, he declared in the same statement that recanonized this expanded universe that different cuts of both the prequel and sequel trilogies would be made official in place of their disappointing original counterparts. That was what we were watching now. This cut of The Phantom Menace removed Jar Jar Binks, among other improvements. "Could you pass the popcorn?" H asked, and as I did, I could feel the stress of the last few months melt away like Anakin would at the end of Revenge of the Sith after his climactic duel with Obi-Wan. But that, of course, was a good 5 hours away.
Oh, boy. This is the first one that has me pause. First of all, stress of running the company?
Yeah.
When has he ever run the company? There's been no...
He dresses up as Indiana Jones and runs around his mansion.
That's true. What does he have? A glass of orange juice? And I forget what his breakfast was. But
probably honeycomb or something.
I just don't see where he's going to stop and relax during this quest in the upcoming book. So I'm going to have to say fanfic again.
Okay. All right. So all 4 so far, all fanfic. Here's number 5. "Only the few who seek the truth can undo this malicious plan. To see beyond the curtain, the wizard is but a man." Holy fuck, Lohengrin breathed. She looked up from the scroll with misty eyes. "Don't you see, Wade? It's about religion. Halliday was a devout atheist his whole life and saw religion as the cause of all societal ills. All that worshipping of some old guy in the clouds, all those rules people followed, all those stupid quotes they would throw at you, Halliday fought against that his whole life. He built the Oasis as a safe haven from all that bullshit." I thought about it for a second. The Jonestown Massacre, the fighting in Northern Ireland, heck, even Hitler's persecution of the Jews had been based on their religion. Halliday would have been morally opposed to all of that. "The last place anyone would think to look for the shard," I said. Our eyes met and we exclaimed in unison, "The church!"
Wow. Well, this is a nice... If it's fanfic, I don't know. Still, I'm musing on it. It's a nice bit of bait to put in Cline's own stupid views. Oh, but do I take it? It doesn't seem likely. Are they all fanfic? Could
you sound like Jeremy Irons and yeah, that's too clever, McLean. You've
yes.
Tick tock, tick tock.
That's not how the game is played. Write us a fanfic. I have to say it's fanfic.
All right.
It's a very confusing thing for me to have all of them fanfic, but look, what can I say?
I will say you did well. You said they were all fanfic. All but one was fanfic.
Wow.
One of these 5 was real. Any guesses?
Is it the Jaws one?
No. The real one was the very first one, the Star Wars Holiday Special Treehouse and the Gary Gnu show, getting him misty-eyed by memories of his childhood. This is one. This is one people sent in from the very beginning. People read ahead, and I think they Star Wars Holiday Special sent out flags. This one was sent in by Cynthia this time. But
all right,
yeah, it was hard to put 2 Star Warses in, but I think that one we needed to put it in before we got to it in our actual read.
Wow. All right.
Number 2 was, like you said, I just really liked the Octung Octon baby line. So
yes.
That was written by Craig, but I guess, it does give it away to put it from his perspective. Number 3 was Bruce the Shark from Jaws. It was by Noah. It's preposterous, but it's not any more different than that Star Wars Gary Gnu one.
13 through 16 we're about to read it's nothing but this. So it's
number 4 was fanfic submitted by Celia, watching the recanonized, recut version of Phantom Menace. I thought that was pretty well written.
It's well written, but during
when
the
would it
quest,
happen? Yeah, maybe it was how they ended or something. And then 5 was written by Con. I had to trim it down, but a callback to the opening chapters of Ready Player One there. But again, you wouldn't put it past him.
No, it's all it's all there.
It's
like too easy.
Heck, even Hitler's persecution of the Jews.
Yeah.
Halliday would have been morally opposed to all of that. We'll see.
Yeah. And so, we're doing this again. Conor is going to be challenged. If you're a Patreon person, you'll just get it. But if you're not, you might be interested to hear Conor's having to take this on. So
I can't wait. Those are some tricky ones I think I presented to you. So people have been stepping up. There's a bunch we didn't use. So.
Yep. All right, chapter 13.
Yeah.
Any claims about this chapter? Is this the best?
No claims. We're about to enter into a stretch where I'm, as unfamiliar as I was with Sega Ninja Princess, John Hughes movies are not really in my wheelhouse either. So this was just sort of like, reading about cricket or something.
These I'll have maybe a little more familiarity with, but not. They're nothing that I was into or anything. I probably saw a few of them. That's about it.
They're all things I've heard of course, but the time when I would have watched those and gotten something out of them, I believe, has passed. So
yes. Well, right out of the gate, I'll just point out a very Clinian moment.
Okay.
I felt the corners of my mouth curl into a smirk. Then I added, I guess American boys don't like to play with girls. So he felt the corners of his mouth curl into a smirk.
Yeah, like the Grinch, him plotting his plot.
Right.
He said he still has teenage Kira. I high-fived him. He looked extremely relieved when I did. Then he locked eyes with me, and as he did, I felt my heart beat faster. So they got the horniness meter is going off the charts here, and he makes a big deal out of how he actually feels and remembers her memory here.
It gets a little
late
a little weird.
Thick. Yeah. Yes. But then we have young, young like geek incel Halliday shows up, right? And he sort of tries to he's jealous of Ogden, and he asks him to drive him home. And Ogden sort of like tosses bus fare at him or something. And he's essentially like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker type of guy. Like everyone is laughing at him. And but then he morphs into the bad guy from the arcade game. And it's it's like a boss fight or something. He turns into the guy he just defeated, and Wade is prepared for a brutal fight. So, like, it's time to strap in. We had an entire chapter of him playing a video game. But now we're going to have some real, authentic gunting action. But whoever had programmed this challenge had made Princess Karumi a lot tougher than her knockoff male counterpart, who barely put up a fight. So that challenge was rapidly, and he says, like, even though I'm in a ninja and I'm like a Street Fighter type of thing, I didn't even have to move. I just had to like press a button and it would do all the actions for me. So you've taken the one thing from virtual reality that's somewhat interesting is him having to like kick and punch, and just been like, I sat in my spider chair and twiddled my thumbs and defeated the boss.
Right. He's very good at deflating his own build-ups. He fakes us out every time. Here's something that he made a great point of saying. The whole beginning of the book was nothing but how the O&I was very different. And now, thankfully, the mechanics of O&I-based combat were more or less identical to old-school haptic rig combat. Did he not spend a lot of time telling us how different it was?
Yeah. It's, it would be like saying, the new PlayStation 5, compared to the Atari 2600 is, that was essentially what he made the difference seem like. Your old gear was garbage, throw it away. You couldn't possibly keep up with the new realistic functions of all this stuff.
Right. I have a real-time, I've been doing this jokingly, but real or fanfic, real time, because this would have fooled me.
All right.
Hold on, Shoto said, cutting her off. He'd opened a browser window in front of his avatar and was reading from it. Andy McDowell also starred in Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan in 1984, but the director hired Glenn Close to loop all of her dialogue because he didn't like her southern accent. Oh. Do you think that could be what that recast the foul, restore his ending is in reference to? Maybe that film had an alternate ending. Wait, are we talking about the movie where Conor McLeod plays Tarzan, H said, directed by the cat who made Chariots of Fire? If I had read that to you, you would have said that was fanfic.
Yeah, not a chance. I would have had some harsh words for the writer for going a bit too overboard with the references. I think I would have thought that saying where Conor McLeod played, like instead of saying Christopher Lambert, I think that would have been a tip off.
Yeah, he would have said, "Go back, try again."
But yeah, so they're trying to break down a clue, and they spend a decent amount of time discussing whether or not it's going to involve Andy McDowell. And they said at some point in time, someone says, "Hey, do you seriously believe the third shard hiding place is somehow connected to Andy McDowell?" And I just imagine Andy McDowell like reading the book and be like, "What the hell?" Just throwing it across the room.
What are they talking about?
The second shard was related to Sega Princess Ninja. Like, what do you? Of course, it's well within the realm of possibility that it's related to Andy McDowell.
Yeah, so they're doing all this. They're having this fight, and then at some point, I just made a note that Artemis suddenly just throws in. Like, is she on the treadmill with the crutches, with the two trying to learn to walk again, and then she just kind of throwing in like, yeah, Andy is, you spelled Andy wrong or something. Like,
right. Yeah. My just note was she shows up and she's fine.
Yeah.
She grinned, admiring our old school Gunter attire. So yeah, I guess she was accurate when she said I just have like some second degree burns or something. I forget which order burns go in, whether first or third is worse, but she had the ones.
Yeah, I think third. Does she any soul searching about getting all those people killed? And any thought about that? Isn't she's her main trait is she's a bleeding heart, right?
She's a humanitarian, yeah.
You just got a whole bunch of people killed.
Yeah, right. I'll wake up screaming about this for the rest of my life. But whoa, check out that old school Gunter attire.
It's not a word about it.
Right. Yes, exactly.
God, he's such a dummy.
Right.
Such a dummy.
If you wanted consistency, it would be like, hey, I know, Artemis, you're here. You've written all these essays about John Hughes movies and discussing them in loving detail. This is perfect. You'll be able to help do this. I know, guys. This would be an ideal time for me to lend in, but I have to help bury these kids. So you're going to have to do this without me. We realized that the stakes were, so high. We weren't going to have our ace in the hole to do this type of thing. But no, she's fine. She comes, she helps him. She's excited. She's like strutting around and like doing all sorts of dumb shit when she gets to the planet.
Right. And the way that the clues are confidently solved usually by Artemis here makes absolutely no sense, where our hero does some dumbass guess and then she corrects him with an even more dumbass explanation. It's like, no way it could be that. That's too dumbass. Here's an even more dumbass solution. And they all go, you're right. You're a genius.
Yeah. Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Yeah, and they're constantly sort of revising their plan through that. Like there's these riddles, quote unquote, which of course you could never solve on your own. They're progressing towards whatever their end is, and then they realize that another aspect of it was incorrect, and then they revise that, and then they look at each other with love.
Yes, it's very ad hoc, their solution of it. There's no, it's not like, wow, the gang is back together and they're solving one clue after another. They're just stumbling around with like idiots. But H at least has a realization, as like somebody has to pretend to be somebody else or something, and she says, H muttered, shaking her head, "If you're right, this is some extremely twisted shit we've gotten ourselves mixed up in, fam." What? You are currently in a spider coffin.
Right.
You've been playing Battletoads for 10 hours. She suddenly just gets a little prick of conscience. Wow, is it possible that this... It's almost like a Norm Macdonald joke,
right.
like talking about a serial killer.
Right.
As he was cutting out his tongue. Is this kind of weird?
Yeah, right. yeah, it is extremely twisted shit. A AI thing just killed a bunch of kids, and you're off to the John Hughes planet.
Right.
You might consider your own role in this is extremely twisted shit. But when Artemis showed up, she says that, I can't believe you guys found the second shard. That was wicked fast, which it was not if you were reading along with the book. It did not, if anything, it did not seem wicked fast. But then they sort of start to have this little debate. The H quote you read is at the tail end of this debate. But it says, I think H says, James Donovan Halliday was a brilliant video game designer and programmer, but he didn't know anything about women, especially Kira. There's no way he could have convincingly recreated one of her memories from her perspective. He was a self-obsessed sociopath, incapable of feeling empathy for anyone else, especially Kira. I had to bite my tongue to prevent myself from leaping to Halliday's defense. The man had been far from perfect, but he'd given us an entire world. Sociopath didn't just seem harsh, but downright blasphemous. So that's him, having just witnessed what the copy of Halliday's consciousness did, and what the world has created hath wrought, is to even entertain an instance of leaping to his defense is insane.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's what they're trying to solve is his wickedness right now.
Yes, exactly. But I just as we have done in the past, I wondered what if he hadn't bitten his tongue and had leapt to Halliday's defense? And that turns out has prompted rampant speculation on the dark web.
Oh wow, real rampant.
Oh yeah, it's been sort of a they treat it as like a sliding doors moment, the classic 80s 1996 Gwyneth Paltrow movie.
Sure.
And so they've said what would have happened in this story if this had happened, and so there's a schism where they've started to see how the story would play out if H leapt to his defense and it dissolves the high five, and what would happen. So hard to wade through all of the recreations. I did pick my favorite one though and downloaded it.
Oh, great. How many did you have to sort through before you got to this one, do you think?
Oh, I mean, that's what I was doing from pretty much December 23rd till yesterday. I missed Christmas, New Year's Eve. I found myself doing that. It's driven a wedge into a lot of relationships of mine.
Well, I'm sure it'll be worth it.
I think so.
There's no way Halliday could have convincingly recreated one of Kira's memories. He was a self-obsessed sociopath, incapable of feeling empathy for anyone else.
Well, that's a little... never mind.
No. What is it, Wade?
Well, I just don't know if you need to start tossing around words like sociopath.
He's imprisoned millions of people in their rigs, and they're going to start dying in a few hours.
Well, his avatar did.
Which is an exact replica of his consciousness.
Yeah, but he really likes Space Invaders.
Uh-huh. So anyway, Shoto thinks that in order to find the next shard piece, we have to play Sega Ninja Princess and take out the usurping pastel ninja dipshits. Yes, Wade?
I mean, the pastel ninjas are far from perfect, but do we...
They've invaded the princess's castle and killed the royal family.
Well, hey, nobody died. They just vanished in a puff of smoke.
Anyway, if anyone can do this, we can do it. Just like the founding fathers fought off the British, just like the Allies stood up to Hitler. What? You're standing up for Hitler?
That just strikes me as a touch blasphemous.
To call him Hitler?
Kind of rude.
He actually was Hitler. He was such a dick that his last name became a huge insult.
Hey, okay. To everyone watching this on their Mead feeds, those are her words, not mine.
You're streaming this?
Yeah, well, they need some entertainment. They've only got hours to live.
So do we, because of Halliday.
Hey, he had some good ideas.
But which guy?
I'm not sure who I'm sticking up for right now, to be honest.
Well, we better hurry. The number of dead is going to dwarf the coronavirus pandemic.
Ow!
What?
I bit my tongue.
Did you accidentally bite it, or were you biting it so you didn't leap in to defend coronavirus?
I don't want to say.
Okay, I'm going to try something.
Sounds good.
Kindly old Miss G.
Uh-huh.
Was murdered.
May she rest in peace.
By?
Go on.
Your arch enemy, Nolan Sorrento.
Now, here's the thing. We all have bad days, and Nolan was...
You know what? I've had enough. Peace out, man. I'm gone.
Now, talk about a guy who got a bad rap.
What?
Oh, I thought you said Gein. Ed Gein? Gentle soul.
I'm going to go play Burger Time in Senegal until I die in my rig. Goodbye, Wade Watts.
Huh. Wade Watts? Now, that guy's a dick. So yeah, that's Schism recreation. I think 1,289 on my list. Just not my favorite, just a notable one.
Yeah, could you send me the rest?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to wade through them. That one's good. I'm not second guessing you. I'm just interested in the form now.
Sure,
you piqued my interest.
It is an art form, I would say. That's what that was. That was, you may debate chapter 12 being art. That was art that we just listened to.
Yeah, well,
Hitler count leaps to 2 on the podcast as well.
Well, I wonder if we went back through them. I'm sure there's plenty more.
Right, yeah. Came from. And then just on that note of when she says extremely twisted shit, we've gotten ourselves mixed up in fam. I nodded. I was starting to feel sick to my stomach too. Like I just learned that my childhood idol and hero had been a serial killer in his spare time. Let us look back as you leapt to his defense not one page earlier, just for the sake of consistency.
Well, this is a mercifully short chapter because then they just head to Shermer, Illinois.
Yep, the John Hughes planet of Shermer.
I did not know that was John Shermer's town, or John Hughes' town was Shermer.
Uh-huh.
But why does he call it your old stomping grounds?
I think just because Artemis has such loving detail for it that she used to just go and hang out there.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, chapter 14. 14. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
This is so Shermer, I guess, is in the John Hughes verse. This is where all his movies would take place, and so it says the simulated suburb had a scaled down replica of Lake Michigan along its northern and eastern borders, and a shrunken version of downtown Chicago, bordering it to the west and south. So all the 80s Windy City landmarks featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off could be incorporated in the simulation too. So all the 80s Windy City landmarks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got that?
Yes.
Just all, including the Sears Tower, Stock Exchange, Wrigley Field, and the Art Institute of Chicago, as covered by the All.
But why does he have to go to these great lengths to say that it was abbreviated versions, and then later there's the Hollywood Bowl that comes up?
Mm-hmm.
This is just, you're just burning digits here, right? Who cares how big it is?
Right, yeah, that some are small, some are night, some are day.
What difference does it make?
I like that he specified, the Sears Tower and Wrigley Field, mostly known as 80s Windy City landmarks, and most famous for being featured in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes, that's why they're the most famous. A little warning to you. I know you particularly hate this. The needle drops, the music cues,
yeah,
describing action in the thing. Here's a quote from the book. On our previous visit here together, Artemis had told me that Schirmer had more needle drops per square kilometer than any other planet in the Oasis. So, Conor, this one's for you.
Thank you.
You're going to get more of these than you ever asked for, and boy, do they come fast.
Yeah, he just pretty much just uses them to signify things in the way the laziest amateur filmmaker would do. And it's funny. It's funny that he remembered that conversation, that Artemis had said that, oddly specific fact, because we get this gap in his memory. I'd heard Samantha sing once before during the week we spent together at Ogg's estate, so I knew she wasn't using an auto-tuning app. Yet somehow I'd forgotten what an unusually beautiful singing voice she possessed. That's just an odd thing to forget about the person you're in love with. Any given person who does musical theater or performs, just to forget that they were a good singer. Usually, one of the more notably things about them.
Especially when he's remembering conversations about needle drops. Yeah, that is an odd thing to forget. I don't know why I wrote this down, but I just have a note. My God, he's an idiot. And then I have this. Artemis glanced over and caught me staring at her with a slack-jawed goon. To my surprise, she didn't look away. She gave me what can only be described as a warm smile.
Yes.
Then she stopped singing and checked her swatch. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory why I said he's an idiot.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I think what can only be described as is a good another good thing to expunge from your vocabulary. I feel like I might have used that in one of my books, and I just make me deeply regret it. Describe it as that, then.
Did you use what can only be?
I just have a vague memory. Maybe Lauren told me to strike it, but
oh, okay. See, you had an editor.
But it's not good. Let's see. So he essentially, what they're doing here is walking or riding a bus throughout these John Hughes movies, and he alternates between describing the actors who played characters versus the character names, sometimes both, and it gets very clumsy and sloppy and stupid.
Yeah, he gets to become parenthetical at a certain point, right? He just says, it's so stupid.
It's character name, parentheses, James Spader, or as played by James Spader type of thing, which is helpful because most sane people don't remember these characters' first and last names.
But what a weird style. He's just like poking his head into rooms of John Hughes stuff and then describing people that he sees.
Right.
And here's one that it struck me as funny. The seats around us were occupied by high school kid NPCs, all wearing 1980s clothing and hairstyles. Wearing hairstyles. Each one was modeled after a teenage actor from a school bus scene in one of John Hughes' films. Yes, that's where we are. I thought I spotted extras from 16 Candles and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You thought you did? No, you did. You're currently describing that you are. I thought I spotted.
Yeah, Wade exhibits the Susan Fletcher syndrome from Digital Fortress of repeatedly being told they are an utter genius, 185 IQ. He's memorized everything, and yet in this section, he constantly is unsure of stuff. He has to be reminded of stuff. He realizes that he's remembering stuff. It's just, you can't have it both ways.
Do you think his attempt at some sort of hero arc with this guy, with Wade, it's just so completely off the rails now.
Yeah.
He's stumbling around. He's an idiot. But I don't think there's ever going to be... He's not doing this on purpose. It's just that he doesn't know how to describe any kind of character change or anything, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. I mean, zero chance of any of this paying off.
Right.
It's just, it's the way for characters to reveal information that Ernest Cline knows to a reader who, of course, doesn't remember any of this stupid stuff.
Now, here's another instance of, talk about that just selective sort of stupidity or whatever. But, these are characters who regularly confront, Godzilla and all of it. Avatars are 12-foot dragons and stuff like that.
Batman climbing Mount Everest.
So they're on the bus in John Hughes' universe. In unison, these two space cadets raised their toy laser pistols and fired them at us. And then one of them shouted, "Score, a direct hit," before they both cracked up and turned back around. This place is a nut house, Shoto observed. I nodded. With some weird fashion trends. You ain't seen nothing yet, Artemis whispered. What is going on?
I don't know. I glossed over that, I guess. That's hilarious.
What?
Think back to the climactic scene of the last movie where, like, Chucky is, leaping through the window of something as a Battletoad, like, raps next to DJ Cool or something.
Yes. But also, you are intimately familiar with the John Hughes universe. You say, hey, let's go to the John Hughes universe. Then you're in the John Hughes universe and you go, what? Whoa, what is happening? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah. And what they see is just more of the John Hughes movies.
Yes,
it's
they're on the Ferris Bueller bus.
It's not like, this place got a little twisted. That turns out when you let these creatures interact, like, this is what happens. The system goes awry type of thing.
Maybe I'll give him credit here. Maybe You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet refers to the fact that the actor who played Principal Rooney is about to get on the bus. So.
Yeah, it's conspicuous omission. Interesting. See, and again, that would be an opportunity to inject some humor into this. Or at least, they decapitate someone. It could have been him.
Yes.
I guess he didn't want to touch it. But so you mentioned the kids are all wearing 80s clothing and hairstyles. He also spots period-appropriate cars and trucks 1989 or earlier filled the tree-lined streets.
Oh my
and
God.
It is the 80s. It's the least notable thing about any of this. Like, the weather is 1980s weather. The gas prices are 1980s gas prices. It would be shocking if there was, a 90s car. Like, that's...
Did you read the words period appropriate?
He said period appropriate cars and trucks 1989 or earlier.
Oh my God.
Like, that would be maybe how you describe something in a screenplay or something. I don't know. I guess that's what he's doing.
Weird.
So there's just a 1989 Dodge Dart that he's identifying as like, oh, yep, that checks out, Mike.
Yes. Here's the when he gets going on dialogue, which there's not a lot of it, because as you heard earlier, Shoto referred to this as without, he just skips dialogue because he writes so badly at it. But sometimes he nails it, and I'll try to do this justice. I remember, I said, after she died, you would rewatch those movies to feel closer to her and to try and better understand who she was. I remember telling you that I did the same thing with my dad's comic book collection after he died. There's a bit of dialogue there.
It's a literal remember when our parents died moment from Mortal Kombat.
I just read it, and just a little tear had to wipe out of the side of my eyes. Wow, that's powerful stuff.
Tugs the heartstrings, and Wade is still trying to remember that she has a good singing voice. Yes. I like this as well because, like you said, they've fought Godzilla, they've done all this crazy stuff, and then Wade says, "It occurred to me that there must be at least 2 different Anthony Michael Halls living on this street, possibly 3." And so, again, these are all NPCs, to use his term. They're just, been programmed by something. So it's the equivalent of being like impressed or awed or surprised that like more than one Twitter user has a Dragon Ball Z avatar or has, the Lakers logo. Like, that's all that is. Like, oh, there's another guy pretending to be an Anthony Michael Hall. Huh. I've lived in this oasis for 8 years, and that is something that is occurring to me.
It just occurred to me. His description again. He's talking about, the Oasis. It incorporated locations and characters from 4 of John Hughes films, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Weird Science. Over the decades, it had been updated and overhauled several times to include other Hughes classics like... And then there's just a list of, I kid you not.
A filmography.
Just a list of films. And then with characters and locations reflecting everything from Curly Sue to career opportunities. This is written down and put in a book.
Right. And meant to be entertaining. It's not a dry, academic, terrible sophomore year of college paper being like the role of gender inequity in John Hughes films, a study type of thing.
Yes.
Speaking of that, we get another one of the him turning to the camera moments to do a little bit of a listen gang type of thing. Sure, Artemis replied, but most of them hang out at a place called the Candy Bar over in Chicago. This planet does have a serious diversity problem. Turns to the camera, like the whole of 80s cinema.
He's, yeah, as you said, I think in a previous podcast, it's the British office of him turning racist.
Yes.
You know?
So that just, they felt the need to address that and also felt the need to do it in the most clumsy way possible.
It's just it's so ham-fisted as they sit and wallow in the universe. All he's doing is describing it and sort of surfing on this ooze of nostalgia for it, and then at the same time, but we understand, of course, that it's very racist.
Right. They're going to the birth of a nation planet, and though it was influential, like a lot of people, pointed out that there were some problematic depictions in this movie.
Yes.
So I entered the log cabin, and the NPCs of the KKK were. But then we get one more reminder of what year it is. Hundreds of NPC teenagers sat in long rows on the stone benches that flanked either side of the walkway, all dressed in colorful mid-'80s attire. So unlike the Cars, their attire is not going all the way to 1989. So very, very curious here. I wonder if the dark web has explored that schism.
Well, I guess you know what you're doing for the next couple weeks.
I do. Oh, man, that's going to make things difficult. I haven't been returning my parents' phone calls. They're writing me out of wills. It's bad, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
You're doing the Lord's work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
So yeah, everyone in the Hollywood Bowl, which we get an explanation for why the Hollywood Bowl is there, begins singing the Kaja Gugu song. And that is I'm looking at it, I think that's 7 or 8 paragraphs.
Wow.
Nothing happens in it. There's no reason why. Except at the end, Artemis snapped her fingers and her avatar's attire changed once again. Now she wore Annie Potts' black latex outfit from her first scene in Pretty in Pink, along with, so she's got it on, but along with that, her punk rock porcupine hairdo, dangling earrings, and dinner fork bracelet.
Applause, she said, doing a slow spin so we could admire the attention to detail she'd put into her Iona cosplay.
When was she putting the attention into the cosplay? I don't get that.
I mean, flying her jet back from, distributing clean water in the Central African Republic. I guess there's time to do that. Like, you'd think you might be shaken up by the images of the malnourished children that you were hyping, but I guess that's, do you have some downtime?
Yeah, I don't know. But then she she gives them all sunglasses from Risky Business.
Yeah, that was another. What? I think they had a proper name or that I didn't identify and didn't look up. But yeah, it changes them into various other characters. Hoffman lenses, it says. Yeah, you're going to need them. She motioned for us to put them on. When we complied, the clothing on each of our avatars abruptly changed. So it turns them into various characters, and they talk about it for a couple paragraphs. And then it says, we each removed our sunglasses and resumed our normal appearance. and they're still on this planet, shockingly, by the end of this podcast section, but so far they have not been used, and so I'm not sure why you did that other than just to describe that he looked like Ferris Bueller for a minute or something.
I guess it's just supposed to be a little golf applause as they do that for a second, and then
they do that on. As the clock ticks towards the greatest extinction level event the Earth has ever seen. She is spinning around dressed as Annie Potts and asking for applause.
Yeah, that thing is that happens a couple times. I think it happens in the next chapter. Which
let's do it.
There's no reason for this to be a chapter break because nothing happened.
Sure,
they're just poking their heads in and out of John Hughes and apparently Risky Business as well. Movies. And as we continue in chapter 15, same thing's going to happen. There's no change. I think the multiple Molly Ringwald thing was one of the dumbest things I've ever read.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that was that moment in. We were talking about him the other day. Who's Norm Macdonald's writer?
Oh, Adam Egget. Oh, no, Jim Downey.
Jim Downey. His bit from
Billy
Tommy
Madison.
Boy, we're all dumber from having heard every single thing you said is wrong. That's the multiple Molly Ringwald section of this, which is like 5 paragraphs describing, there's the one from Pretty in Pink, and there she is in 16 Candles.
Yeah.
And then they just describe her.
And why, though? Because it's either an NPC, which doesn't matter, or it's much more likely just another 50-year-old pervert dressed as her, like wandering around this planet being like, I'm pretty in pink Molly Ringwald today. I feel like that just adds a touch of naughtiness to the proceedings.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. They're just playing around. But then they have a sort of a tense conversation because H does not like the
John Hughes movies.
Does not like them, no, as we've seen earlier. And she says, I hate this place. It's like being stuck in the Matrix with the Brat Pack. That's why I love it, Artemis replied. Don't yuck my yum, H. Don't do it. There's no way you can hold on to your book when you read that.
The most revolting phrase of 2018 has fortunately survived 30 years and post-apocalypse.
Oh man,
yeah. Seeing it in print was was just one of those moments. You know, you sort of just take a deep breath and think about the life that my grandfather lived.
Right. And then. Is this something you can apply to this? Artemis was right. For someone who had trained themselves to identify pop culture icons from the 70s and 80s, this world was one huge distraction. Is that how you describe being an idiot who only watches shitty movies and like memorizes them and obsesses over them? Is that called training?
That would be a good one. Yeah. Anytime you're doing anything, you're training to. I'm training to eat Doritos. I mean, really, every time you're doing it, you're getting better at it.
I guess so. I guess there's, on one hand, there's like sniper school, and then on the other, there's watching Pretty in Pink for the 43rd time. I guess they're both training.
But is it a distraction? Like I spend every spring and summer, like sort of following the Washington Nationals, getting familiar with the players, seeing how they do. When I go to a game and they're actually on the field, I'm not distracted by knowing things. There's the third baseman. Like, sorry, I was just paying attention to the first baseman. I've been studying him and training to learn about this team. So I was just seeing him in person was very distracting to me.
Distracting. Wow. Yes. So again, extinction level event in your mind. We rounded another corner and Artemis suddenly threw her arms out as she skidded to an abrupt halt, causing the rest of us to collide with her and one another. Once we'd regained our balance, Artemis pointed up ahead. So they've got time to do like bad Saved by the Bell sitcom routines of, coming around the corner and going, and stop, and then they all slam into each other.
Right. And they're to avoid an NPC, which, does not care that they're there. Like would not, is not Principal Rooney coming down the hall and they have to do the skid to a halt.
Right. I just don't. But they're doing it in. So she's wearing a haptic, so she's actually being collided. I don't know.
Right at this point in time, this was just a moment that I had questions about the timing of. He runs to the nearest door and glanced inside, then retreated as soon as I saw. Put a pin in that. Retreated as soon as I saw that it was an economics class being taught by Ben Stein, who was, of course, currently calling the roll. Adams, Adamley, Adamowski, Adamson, Adler, Anderson. Here, I heard Anderson shout as I turned away and hurried on to the next classroom. So did you retreat as soon as you saw it was Ben Stein, or did you turn away and hurry after 30 seconds of Ben Stein languidly calling the roll here?
Again, the editor is out, unavailable. Just leave it on my desk. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
What else happens? She decapitates Ducky with a sword.
Yeah, that's just. I guess that must just be a personal thing, or maybe he's a controversial character, which I never knew that.
Yeah, she describes him as sort of just sounds like Wade. He ignores boundaries. He hounds her for a date all the time. Like he's rude to her in public. So
applause for that, right?
Yeah, and then she says there can be only one when he does it. And then we get another good joke.
Oh, maybe it's the same one I have. I was just about to read his joke, but go ahead.
Mine is not a verbal joke. It's some physical comedy. So if you have a verbal one.
Oh, I have a verbal one.
Okay.
This is the height of his joke writing here. H shouted, "You could have warned us first." "Yeah," Shoto added, chuckling to himself. "Next time, give us a heads up." All right, so that's pretty funny. What do you got for the physical comedy?
Well, so yeah, as he's quoting that, like, it occurred to me, like, they woke up and logged in. Were people who are like, across, the international date line, have they been logged in for 12 hours at this point in time? Like, are people in like the Philippines, are they starting to hit their 12 hours and lapsing into the comas and their heads exploding like watermelons?
Must be, yeah.
Just
but they clicked the EULA, so
So the physical comedy is as we walked past one of the goalposts, we triggered another needle drop on the simulation soundtrack. It happened to be one of H's all-time least favorite songs. Is that allowed?
I have that same note. It's like that can be applied to anything. All-time least favorite.
But it is "Don't You Forget About Me" by Simple Minds. We ran to catch up with Artemis and Soto. As we did, the song continued to play, and when it reached its crescendo, H mockingly raised her right fist to the sky. It made the rest of us crack up. And that what they say about comedy is that doing the one thing that everyone expects to is usually what gets the best reaction. It's not about subverting expectations or surprising people. It's the one association that even I, who don't know that movie, has with that movie.
Yes, putting the chopsticks in your mouth like tusks is always funny, no matter how many times. A lampshade on the head at a party is funny.
Right. And then literally a few seconds later, H gets a call from her fiancée, Indira. I caught a glimpse of the worried face of Indira in the VidFeed video. She was calling from their home in LA, where she was still holding a vigil beside H's sabotaged immersion vault. H muted their conversation so we couldn't hear what they were saying, but we didn't need to. It was obvious Indira was distraught. Oh, right. The planet-wide suffering and death. Sorry.
Right.
I'll stop laughing. It's still hilarious, but like maybe just try to tone it down, man.
I need to ask both you and maybe our listeners, I don't know if you got this or not, and I don't want to miss one of his famous jokes, but this is clearly a joke, and I just don't get it.
Okay.
So they go to it's the party from which, I forget which, John, who cares? There's some party in a rich house, and then as they're about to go in, they say, "That party is about to become a historical fact," Artemis said.
Yep.
That made me laugh out loud, which somehow earned me another one of her smiles. I don't get that.
I didn't get it either.
Mean?
I think other people wrote in confused about it. I just don't know. It must be a reference to just a direct quote.
Oh, okay. That made me laugh out loud. Okay,
yeah.
All right.
That party, it auto-completed.
Oh.
I don't know, but there's nothing in there to. I mean, Ready Player 2 pops up when I
Oh dear. Okay, so there are other. So people are confused about it.
Yeah, if people write in, they can let us know, but we didn't know, and it's hard to find out in real time. Also, probably not worth our time.
Not at all.
From an '80s John Hughes movie.
All right.
Yeah, that was the last note I had for that section.
Oh, I just have one more then, and it's the front lawn. Beer cans, pizza boxes, and horny teenagers were strewn across the lawn. Music was blaring from within. How does he? They're currently horny?
Yes,
they're just strewn on the lawn, horny.
It is the one observation you're making about them. That's a weird one to pick.
Anyway, that's so then they go into the party, and then we're into chapter 16.
Are their hearts bursting out of their chests? Are there bug eyes and tongues lolling about? Like, fill us in. You have an opportunity for some excellent descriptions there. You've already described yourself as a 17-year-old girl's boobs and everything else in detail. You're not going to be you're approaching Principal Rooney territory yourself here. So,
right. Well, this being, I think, is this our fourth chapter of John Hughes?
They talked about John Hughes in the first one, but they ventured to the planet. We've been on the planet for 3.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I have very few notes because it's just like seeing characters from John Hughes movies. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, it's you do that, and you have some more Susan Fletcher moments. It starts with 2 that I noticed, if I can read them.
Yes.
I walked up to the front door and pressed the doorbell. A loud gong sounded as it swung inward. A young Asian man was hanging from the inside of the door. He was extremely intoxicated. It took me a second to realize I knew him. It was Long Duke Dong. And he's on, we've been on the John Hughes planet for hours now, but it's taking a second to realize it is like going to, Bowles fantasy camp and being like, oh, I didn't realize that was Scottie Pippen. Like, who did you expect to see here?
Yes.
And then a few seconds later, he says, holy shit, the OG Iron Man? I forgot he was in a John Hughes movie. Robert Downey Jr. is one of the most famous actors on the planet now. Like, if anything you know about that should be like, that's a very important part of this whole thing.
Right. There's a moment here. I pointed it out to Artemis. D. Griffith on the mailbox. There are 5 different John Candy NPCs wandering around Shermer, she said. Can you name all of them? Now, of course, he's going to reply, I probably could, but that's not important right now.
Taps the
world
watch,
hangs on the brink of disaster. H is having, she's in a crisis right now. But no, the answer is, sure, I said. Del Griffith, of course. Then there's Chet Ripley. and he goes on. I'm not going to finish.
Right, yeah.
She grinned at me, impressed. Not bad, Watts, she said. Still sharp as a tack. What the hell is going on?
It's, all it needs to be said is, oh, John Candy. But yeah, she's impressed by him, even though he's demonstrated on this planet that he is absolutely not sharp as a tack. She reminds him of something with the I want a new duck thing that happened, and then long details about Robert Downey Jr., supposed to be Ducky, and he had to write a new ending, and he says, really? I never knew that. Pretty impressive, Artie. And so yet another thing he doesn't know, but there's never a moment of like self-reflection, like never a moment like she's better than me, or I've wasted my time, or like anything like this. It's just like, I didn't know it. It goes into the next scene. I'm a genius type of thing. Yeah.
And here's where the clue solving gets really, really stupid. It's recast the foul, restore his ending, right? And so the foul is Foul.
Yeah.
And then they hit upon, well, no, he's talking about foul, Fowl, and it's Ducky.
Right.
And they go, that's it. You're a genius, that kind of thing. This is what we have to do, is to restore the ending to this John Hughes screenplay where Ducky is... what the foul filth? I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, because I believe, I'm reasonably confident that, they displayed that message on the shard or on the trophy or something. It wasn't like Interact's voice did not intone that,
No, yeah, it's spelled out.
So it's a garbage clue. He's not playing by his own rules.
Yes, and then but when they hit upon it, they go, of course, that's it.
Right.
No, it's not. It's a different word.
Yeah. He didn't even go as lazy as being like, hang on, there was some cyber dust obscuring the U, so it turns out it was a W. Like,
and would that lead you to say Ducky from the John Hughes movie out of an entire universe of possibilities?
Right. They came to the planet under believing that the rule was one thing, and then once they changed the rule, they assumed it still applied to the planet that they had erroneously come to because of. Yeah. Well, we get a winky moment about Cameron's dad Ferrari, which I'm not going to even dignify with any more said about it.
Okay.
We get a reference to the noted ColecoVision classic Grand Theft Auto. And as they're sort of driving, they take Robert Downey Jr. and they're driving him to another party so that he can do something. He says, as I continued to drive, I stole a glance over at Artemis in the driver's seat. The top was down and the wind was in her hair. She looked beautiful and happy, and I was still madly in love with her, no matter how much I denied it. When, sir? When have you done anything other than slobber over her, like in your own Howard Hughes sad existence, thinking about you guys banging in Rivendell? Like what?
Rivendell.
Sorry, Ogg recreated the Rivendell from Peter Jackson's film adaptations of the Lord of the Ring trilogy to be the house that he and Kira were going to live in.
Did he have to move any rivers or anything?
He moved rivers, literally moved rivers and mountains in order to achieve this at great cost.
Oh, okay. And you said it was from the book?
Film adaptations of Peter Jackson.
Okay. All right.
So
I got it. Okay. I have a note here. Why does this keep happening? She puts on some avatar or something, and I gave her a round of applause, and she took a small bow.
God.
We do not have time for this junior high garbage. What is happening here?
Yeah, I don't remember what that one was or why she's still, why anyone's impressed by an Avatar costume change.
There are NPCs of Robert Downey Jr. wandering around. Like anything is possible. Why are you golf clapping someone's?
Yeah, I mean that was their first interaction. Remember in the movie, he shows up dressed as Buckaroo Banzai, and she's like, "Whoa, Buckaroo Banzai!" It's like we can just stop. I mean, I guess you should if your friend shows up, it's appropriate to tell them they look nice if they've got a new outfit or a haircut or something like that. But you don't need to just when it's not them, when it's their avatar.
Yes.
It's not necessary.
So my final note, it's a fairly short chapter, and again, we're just taking Robert Downey Jr. to dance with what's her name in Pretty in Pink or something.
Yeah.
I can't even believe I'm saying these words.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But he says, I felt myself turn several different shades of red.
Wow.
So that's a new twist on the Clinian, feeling himself turning different shades.
Right. It's mixing in some Midnight Sun into here.
Yeah, that's quite a feat to know. I don't know. I guess do bioluminescent creatures? They must know when they're turning a certain color, right?
Yeah, I mean they're mostly like one-celled animals. I feel like, so I'm not sure that they're able to process that. But yeah, feeling your face flushed, do you really feel like it getting hotter? I don't know.
But
I mean, no is the answer because that's insane, and no lived person has ever had that experience. So,
oh, well, that's all I got.
Yeah, I just had he stares at her long enough that it starts playing a horny alarm, which is More Than a Feeling by Boston. She describes that as a little Easter egg they added for ONI users last year, which is just disturbing and distressing. It's sort of the equivalent of like, you get woken up because someone's been scrolling through your vacation pics on Instagram from 5 years ago or something.
Right.
But this is no one needs to know this. Like if female internet users were alerted every time someone was leering at them, the whole thing would shut down within minutes.
Yeah. But answer me this question: why does she like him now? What is he? The thing that she stormed out of their meeting and said, you all can rot in hell for making these ONIs because someone's going to hack into them and cause a worldwide extinction happens. And she shows up and is like, doesn't say boo about it. Yeah. And then starts batting her eyelashes at this piece of crap. Why?
Well, I mean, I think we've all seen the Roland Emmerich style movie where there'll be a estranged, family member, usually the dad, divorced, estranged from kids. But then, the world starts ending, and then everything's forgiven, and they love each other again. I guess it's that happening, but without even any explanation. She saw charred corpses on a playground, and now she loves him again.
Yeah. At least in the movie, like you describe, the first one that I recall seeing that cliche in so poorly was, what's the James Cameron, they go underwater movie and there's water creatures.
The Abyss.
The Abyss. They're divorced, right? And they somehow have to work in this underwater rig together. And then so they have it's the cliche plays out, but then she dies and he's like pounding her chest and he actually says, "Live, damn it, live. You've never given up anything in your life. Now live."
Wow, nice.
I remember laughing out loud in the theater and getting those stares of like, it's like, being in church and laughing or something. Like, this is a very touching moment, sir.
Wow. I wonder if that established that cliche. Maybe it will come up in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last note was, ends with her saying, "You're a genius," and kissing him for some reason. Just because that's how this has to play out. Is he a genius? We've listed this multiple times. He just doesn't know the one thing that he professes to be good at.
He's an evil sociopath, and he happens to be a dumbass. So there's really no reason, and nothing has changed.
Yes.
He has not earned anything.
Nope. No development. But, we've still got half the book left, so we'll see.
All right.
we got room to grow, baby. But until then, we should probably quickly review some dumb sentences of the week.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period or an exclamation.
I have
or
to
a question
confess,
mark.
I don't think I have
ends
any
with a
dumb
period.
sentences.
That weren't burned? Or just
That
in general?
weren't burned, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a few, and we do have some people that wrote in to have stuff we didn't focus on.
Okay,
We
good,
focused
good.
on a lot, but that's
All
good.
right.
We're running long. We have first Jacob and Justin both submitted, released for the Sega Master System in Japan in 1987 and in the United States in 1988. And one of them said, it's an incomplete sentence and it's just pointless Wikipedia trivia. Mikkel submitted, she called this, I think this is referring to Artemis, she called this putting her game face on. And he said, as does everyone else. Later, she applied heat to food to alter its taste. She called this cooking. Amanda submitted, so this riddle was a bullseye in his Gunter knowledge sweet spot. I don't want to think about any Gunter's sweet spot, personally. This one is fantastic. M. Williams, huge mansion-like homes lines both sides of the street, each with an immaculately manicured lawn and circular driveway. And they said, huge mansion-like homes, i.e. mansions. You just stop noticing stuff like that if you're... this is from Nathan.
I
He
could
said,
feel myself seeing a mansion, is a way that he could have said.
Yes. Nathan submitted, do you think maybe Og knows a little more about his ex-wife than we do? And he said, no human alive has ever called someone's deceased wife an ex.
Oh, wow.
We have, let's see. H. Shoto and I all gave her an enthusiastic golf clap from Hayden. And Hayden said, that's not how golf claps work. They are by their nature, reserved and non-enthusiastic.
Yes.
Let's see. We have Lucas. You'll pay for this, you son of a bitch, I shouted, because I'd obviously seen too many movies.
Yeah.
He said, you do not get to be self-aware at this point. George submitted, luckily, it wasn't my real skull I was punching or my real fists I was using to punch it. And he said, wow, so lucky. Todd submitted, when I managed to hit him enough times, the level ended. And he said, just like all end bosses in all video games. Brian submitted, for a split second, I think this is on the John Hughes planet, someone at the party, for a split second, I mistook the NPC for the male form of Lohengrin's avatar, which looked nearly identical, but had shorter hair. Theodore submitted, the front yard looked like a war zone. And he said, for an instant, I thought someone had killed all the NPCs. That would have been a heck of a plot twist, preventing Wade from getting the shard and forcing him to deal with the Halliday AI without doing just what he wants. But no, when Cline says war zone, he means party, and the story proceeds exactly as we all knew it would.
It's funny that the real war zone gets no love at all.
Yeah.
The place where charred corpses are still being retrieved.
I had a couple that didn't get you. Oh yeah, this one was very good, and I know someone else submitted this one, and I forgot their username. So sorry if I forgot to read you. But Og gave the Sega Ninja cabinet an awkward pat, as if it were an unfamiliar Labrador. Just like, that's one of those things you'd read in world's high school teachers' worst metaphor contests.
Yes.
Like the needless specificity is just so awful.
It's when he tries.
Right.
It is at a certain point, if you're the editor, you just go, yeah, don't try. Just keep doing that, whatever you're doing, because the trying is worse.
Yeah, stick with cliche and reference. Don't try to make up your own usurping pastel nymph to dipshits is another example of that, I think. Yeah. Don't go out on a limb here. And then my other dumb sentence, just because it is a sentence. I recognized 6 of these men as actors: Chevy Chase, Paul Dooley, Michael Keaton, Steve Martin, John Hurd, and Lyman Ward, the men who portrayed Clark W. Griswold, Jim Baker, Jack Butler, Neil Page, Peter McAllister, and Tom Bueller, respectively. I wish he had not added the respectively and just been like, and you can sort it out yourselves, you sheep, you dumb pigs. Like, you figure out who those are.
Oh, man. We're actually reading this.
I can't believe it. And we're getting more of it the next chapter. I mean, we're still waiting the long-awaited promised confrontation with Prince, but for next time, we're on the John Hughes planet. Let's do one more two emails, I think.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man. We're stealing people's mail.
All right, what do people have to say?
Well, I think this has happened once before, but we have an exciting announcement from one of our listeners. This is from Ben. You just said, why is this a thing that we're reading? Ask Ben the same question, because he writes in, I'm currently sitting in the hospital with my in-labor wife and find myself thinking about my favorite, or least favorite part of Ready Player 2 so far, the ONA childbirth recordings. Do you think we're supposed to start the recording now or just wait till the fireworks at the end? Is the idea that our daughter is able to experience the hours of waiting or just the excruciating pain and horrific smells of the actual birth? Hopefully, Spielberg can answer these important questions when the movies come out. Listener and Patreon supporter, Ben. So, I wrote to Ben back and said that was like December 15th or so. I hope everything went well and the newest 372 fan is part of the world now, but I'm glad these are the questions that are going through his mind. I suppose whatever takes your mind off it is
right. Yes, you've got a lot of time in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of waiting.
Yeah, but it's the imagining the honey. Can you please stop emailing Mike and Connor and come hold our daughter?
Yes.
So yeah, congratulations to Ben and his wife and their newborn.
Yeah.
We have Sarah wrote in. I'm gonna do 3 emails. I said 2. Sarah wrote in. Just had to send a quick email about something super annoying at the end of our beloved chapter 12. Wade as Kira has just beaten Ninja Princess with a score of 385,800 points. He says the person in first had racked up a score of 550,750 points, outscoring me by over 200,000 points. I think most people can quickly see the problem here, but 550,000 minus 365,000 equals 184,000, which is obviously not over 200,000 points. And again, you hate to do it, but this is the best-selling book in the country for multiple weeks. It's incredible.
And we've talked about it before. When you have your book copy edited, they circle everything. Mm-hmm. And you have to write stat, joke. That's a joke stat.
Yeah.
But it's their job to, add the numbers, do the things like say, yeah, you got this wrong. That's not in Chicago. This is, and you just have to, oh, right, I made a mistake. Right. But they don't miss. They circle everything. It's very intense. I don't know how this keeps happening.
Yeah. I mean, I was our friend Cole Stratton, who does Riff Tracks and hosts Sketchfest, started reading the book. And the Tom Selleck hat was the first thing he pointed out, and I was like, "You're in for a wild ride, man." Because I think Cole's from
stopping
Detroit,
you in your tracks.
It stood out. And one more email. This is from Taylor. He says, "I don't think Cline realizes what a strange place he's created in Shermer. Martin Scorsese caused an uproar last year by comparing Marvel movies to theme parks. Cline thinks every kind of media should ideally be an attraction in one very large theme park, the Oasis. Now, I understand the appeal of exploring Middle-earth or the Star Wars universe. I'm not sure I understand the appeal of exploring a Chicago suburb stuck in the late 80s. Was it the late 80s? I'll have to look back and check that.
Yeah, and if there's any indication in there.
The films of John Hughes are not beloved because they depict strange new worlds. They're beloved because they honestly depict the often disappointing world of suburban America. Cline thinks the best possible way to enjoy a movie is to be inside it. But a lot of movies, especially comedies, depict horrible situations that are only enjoyable because we are watching for the outside. Why would anyone want to live out the misery of planes, trains, and automobiles in real life so you could slowly forge a friendship with Robert John Candy? John Candy. that he wrote that. Honestly, the most attractive part of living in a John Hughes movie would indeed be meeting the characters that populate them, but the residents of Shermer are just mindless puppets made to look like dead actors and programmed to repeat daily routines. Without the characters' humanity, the things that made Hughes such a good writer and director, all you have left is a bunch of 80s clothes and hairdos. It's kind of sad to see Cline take the thing he supposedly loves and misunderstand why he loves them.
Wow.
And well said.
It reminded me of the time that Glenn Ross came out, and a friend of mine said, I started to watch that movie. It's like, why would I watch this? That's my life. Like, oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to be stuck in Glenn Ross. There's nothing appealing about it.
Especially if you're a salesman.
All right. Well, that's it, I think.
That's it, yeah. We'll post the reading assignment in the description, so I don't know what it is. But thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
thank
New
you
Year.
all. Thank you, Patreon people. Connor and I are about to do his reel or fanfic, so that'll come later. A couple of days before we post that, right?
Yeah, we'll post it in a couple of days. Over the
Okay.
weekend, maybe. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. So long.
Bye.